So, should we bring in the closer?
I think it'd be a good time for that.
All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Free Baseball Podcast presented by the Athletes Hub. It is episode number 70. It's a big number, but last week was the funny number. We can talk this week about trades because we talked a little bit, but now the trade deadline's come and gone. As always, I'm your host, Davis Bird, and my co-host is Jake Crumpler. I'm out of adjectives, so don't expect one right now. We're just gonna get right.
I can be stupid if that's a worthy adjective for you.
The world's goofiest man, Jake Crumpler.
I'll take it.
But before we get into trades, got some baseball news. Starting with hot weeks since July 29th, since we are now in August. Juan Soto, hottest hitter in baseball. He's hitting .455, the 500 on base percentage because Juan Soto walks all the time. Always does that. He's slugging .909, pretty gigantic. 4 runs, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs worth .6 F4 in that span. Juan Soto, one of the guys that was like potentially going to be traded, but I don't think the Padres ever really were going to entertain that. But they're surging. They're going to try to hunt for a playoff spot, and Juan Soto leading the charge.
Yeah, definitely. And he just continues his incredible career. He's still only 24 somehow. He's in his 6th MLB season, which is absolutely ridiculous. Imagine what his career numbers would look like if 2020 wasn't a shortened campaign that saw him play only 47 games. He is once again being bad in the field and being an incredible hitter, one of the best walkers in baseball history already at such a young age. And he's being an incredible one once again. 159 WRC plus is his best since 2021. And he's just an incredible hitter. And he's definitely carrying this lineup right now. Well, actually, I wouldn't say he's carrying the lineup. We'll talk about another guy later. This has the makings of a long podcast. So maybe we should keep all of our segments about as short as possible. But yeah, Juan Soto, incredible over the past few days.
And definitely so. Best pitcher in baseball, pretty clear because of a certain thing that happened over the last week. Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros against the Cleveland Guardians on the 1st, which was 2 days ago. He no-hit them 9 innings, obviously because it's a no-hitter. 0 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk. Framber doesn't walk that many guys. 7 strikeouts, including 16 whiffs. Good for a 34% call strikes plus whiffs percentage.
Yeah, Framber Valdez did it again. Had a good start again. It's like I'm suggesting, he just throws a no-hitter every single time. Yeah. No, he's been absolutely incredible this year. Last year he was really great. He had that quality starts record, which was super cool, but he was sort of underwhelming in other departments. And he's just gone ahead and gotten better in all those departments that he was bad in last year. He was still a guy that walked a few too many batters, didn't get too many strikeouts, and was sort of just a big ground ball guy that ate a bunch of innings. He's still a big ground ball guy that eats a bunch of innings, but now he doesn't walk anybody and now he strikes guys out. So it's sort of all the best of both worlds. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball now, without a doubt. You could definitely poke holes last year at his resume, but now it's like pretty clear that he's super good. And now he gets to add this accolade on there. And I saw a tweet earlier this week that said the Astros were like the leader since they were created as a franchise. They're the leader in no hitters. They're at like 16. And I think the next best is 13. Yeah. So they've been the premier team at pumping out no hitters since becoming a franchise.
Definitely. Some cool notes about this. Martin Maldonado becomes the first catcher to catch 3 no-hitters in his career. And Framber Valdez
was the 4th.
Was it the 4th?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it's still 4 no-hitters caught by Martin Maldonado. And then of those 16,
3 no-hitters caught, he's one of 4.
1 of 4 with 3. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. And then Framber Valdez, of those 16 no-hitters, Framber Valdez is the first lefty in Astros history to throw a no-hitter. So congratulations to Framber on making a little bit of team history there to go along with the team history already made. It's just a first of the 16. So congratulations. Did the Astros have a combined no-hitter earlier this year?
Probably.
Yeah, those don't count, so who cares? So congratulations to Framber Valdez, players of the week. Who can you guess for the AL here player of the week, Jake? If you were to not know, I know you made the rundown, but if you had to guess,
if I had to guess, Scott Barlow. No, Shohei Ohtani is probably the guy I would guess if I had to. I mean, he did come into the week with 2 on his plate already.
Yeah, well, he got number 3. So here you go,
no
Shohei Ohtani, AL player of the week. Hey, Jake, just put that in the rundown while we're doing this, but. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani got his 3rd player of the week. We talk about him all the time. Yeah, you can kind of just expect him to be this good. And then on the NL side, another guy had sort of a rough night. Was it last night or was it 2 nights ago where he hit himself in the face, pop fly? But it's Pete Alonso.
It was such an athletic play, and it just made him look so unathletic.
Yeah.
All right, like he just slid right into
misjudged it. It hits himself right in the noggin.
Yeah, both of these guys, couple of the biggest home run hitters in baseball. Pete Alonso's been doing that pretty well last week, and Ohtani the same. He's got 3 Player of the Week awards already now for the American League. Pretty cool. He's having an incredible season, and just the fact that he's been like the best player, maybe the best hitter in the American League, and then he also pitches. We don't need to get into it. We got way too much to talk about. But yeah, both these guys had pretty incredible weeks.
Yeah, Pete Alonso also becomes 2nd on the leaderboard for most home runs in their first 362 games, right behind Ryan Howard.
On another note on that, did you see Fernando Tatis was the 4th fastest player to 100 home runs?
I did see that he hit 100 home runs, but I didn't see that that was the
I think Ryan Howard, Gary Sanchez, there's a couple other guys. Clearly, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pete Alonso is very quietly. The Mets have been really bad, but he's like, 31, 32 home runs? What is he at so far? It's in the 30s.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty unlucky on balls in play, but the home runs 31. Yeah, they've been coming across. I mean, he's doing what he does, but he's got a 195 BABIP. Wow, still a 124 WRC plus. So definitely really unlucky this year. Statcast suggests a batting average of 253, which is literally the 1 point below his career average. So I think he's doing what he normally does, and he's getting pretty unlucky on balls in play. He's a fly ball hitter with not a lot of speed. He's a right-handed hitter also, so expected to have a lower BABIP. His career is 262, but sub 200 is pretty unlucky.
Yeah, definitely. It's because I picked him before the season started for NL MVP, and that's why he's doing bad. That's why he's getting unlucky. The baseball gods specifically hate me, so they curse.
You got a lot of say. You have a lot of say in like what goes on in the baseball world.
Only bad though, because every time I want something good to happen, it doesn't happen.
You would have like 100 million followers if like Twitter followers were related to how much impact you have on the baseball season.
That'd be sick. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at DVSBird, so you can follow all of my ramblings and ravings about baseball that don't really happen. And then one last unfortunate bit of news, proving again that the baseball gods are very unkind, just like they've been to Pete Alonso's BABIP. Liam Hendriks comes back from cancer. 5 games, 5 innings, something like that. Tommy John surgery. So Liam Hendriks is going to be out. Most likely, I think they said until 2025. So we won't be seeing Liam Hendriks again for quite a while. Just really, really unlucky for what was a shoe-in and might still be comeback player of the year.
That 5 innings is gonna weigh heavily in that decision on that
award,
but
still on the story though. I mean, maybe I don't know. I it's such a good story. That happens to be ruined by something like this. It's just really, really shitty.
Talk about worst year of your life, right? Cancer, defeat that, come back, get injured, and it turns out to be Tommy John surgery. Now you're out for the whole next year as well. I mean, cancer is hard enough to deal with, and then to just on top of that have probably the most severe injury you can have as as a pitcher. So that's super rough to deal with. If there's anybody that's going to be able to come back from this at his age, it's Liam Hendriks. I mean, he clearly just beat cancer. He's 34 years old. He'll be 36 by the time he returns. we do have like precedent for this. Justin Verlander came back from a Tommy John surgery and won Cy Young right away. Obviously, Hendricks not going to win a Cy Young as a reliever, but he definitely has the willpower to come back from this at full strength. It's just, I just felt like we had to talk about this because that's just such an awful year for such like a great guy and a great pitcher.
Yeah, really unfortunate. Get well soon, Liam, so we can watch you pitch again. One of the best closers in baseball when he's healthy, which has been most of the time up until this last season, which is not really in his control. It just really sucks to see. But that's all of our very pressing news. We can talk about the trade deadline. We talked a little bit about it last podcast. Made some predictions. Guys, going to get traded. We made a couple wrong choices there, but we can talk about every single trade that happened. Starting with the first big one to come off the board, Jordan Hicks from the Cardinals. Cardinals tore it down a little bit, trading Jordan Hicks to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for 2 starting pitching prospects. Number 7 prospect in the Toronto system, Sim Roberts, I think is what it is. He becomes the number 6 prospect in the St. Louis system, and Adam Kloffenstein, who's unranked for the Blue Jays, becomes number 22 prospect.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting trade on both sides. The Birds trade pitchers. Hicks is very interesting. He's a hard thrower, maybe the hardest thrower in baseball. Definitely has the most 100-mile-per-hour pitches thrown this year. And he was more of like a Brusdar Graterol in the past couple of years where this guy throws 100 miles per hour but doesn't get any strikeouts. And then this year, he finally started striking guys out. In his career prior to this season, he was a guy that struck out just 23% of batters. This year, he's up to 30.5% without sacrificing in any other department as well. Still a big ground ball guy, still a guy that's got great ratios and stuff. So he's been really good this year. Took over the closer role after Ryan Helsley went on the IL. And that sort of boosted his trade value as well. He's pretty young too. He's in his age 26 season. So that's going to be fun to watch when he hits free agency, because you rarely see like 27-year-old relievers that are sort of in their prime and have stuff like his. That's going to be fun to watch alongside Shohei Ohtani. Definitely be overshadowed. But the Blue Jays lost Jordan Romano to the IL. That should be like a minimum stay there. I think it's a lower back strain that he's dealing with, or inflammation or whatever. He's been dealing with that since the All-Star game. But Hicks won't be a direct replacement. They haven't used him as the closer yet. I think he pitched the 7th or the 8th inning yesterday.
You mean Garcia's been closing games?
Swanson closed yesterday.
Garcia's gotten a couple saves previously. He's been the go-to guy when Romano's already pitched. Like
they've sort of gone around, because they've got Swanson too, and then they've got Meza, who's like probably the best of the bunch. He's just a lefty though, so they don't really want to use him as the closer. So you got a bunch of names there. I think Hicks is probably the most dominant one. Garcia's got the most experience. Swanson, I think, is the best strikeout guy before Hicks arrived, and then Meza's probably the one who's had the most success this year. But Hicks definitely makes that bullpen a lot deeper, which is something that they needed. They didn't really have a lot of bullpen depth, and he's definitely an elite arm and really helps soften the blow of losing Romano for even just a couple of weeks.
Definitely. The corresponding move that they also had was DFAing Mitch White, who's sort of been like a swingman role. So they lose sort of like a swingman style pitcher. And then replace him with Jordan Hicks. So that could potentially be an issue if they had more starting pitching depth, like be sort of damaged. Like you say, Kikuchi's had a couple problems, and they typically don't really stretch him out very much. He goes like 5 and then they pull him. Or if Manoah just blows up again and just is completely ineffective. So
yeah, they're running 6-man though right now because they got Ryu back.
Oh, they finally got Ryu back. Okay. Yeah, then Mitch White is completely negligible. Get that guy there. He sucks.
Former Dodger.
He's not very good at baseball. But Cardinals made another trade. Also still dealing from
the prospects.
The prospects. Talk about Sim Roberts.
Sir, we talked about him for the prospects All-Star game, the futures game. He's Dutch. That's why he's got such a cool name. So I don't think when you pronounced it Roberts that you're pronouncing it wrong. I think Dutch names are meant to be pronounced wrong. That was a good joke. Roberts is a 21-year-old right-handed starter. He's 6'1". I thought he was going to be taller. He sounds like he's got a tall name.
Sounds like he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's in Double-A right now. He seems pretty average, but I mean, the fact that he like held his prospect capital moving from Toronto to St. Louis, going from 7 to number 6 in each of those top 30s respectively, I think suggests that he's still a pretty solid pitcher. He's been like a 4 ERA guy this year, and maybe he does have more potential, but he's not really striking out a lot of guys. That'll be one that's interesting to watch. And then Kloffenstein, who was unranked on the Blue Jays prospect list and then goes to St. Louis and moves up to 22, suggests that he's having a good year. And if you go and look, 22-year-old at Double-A, he's a right-handed pitcher. There's the tall guy. He's 6'5". 3.24 ERA at Double-A, comes with a 27.6% strikeout rate. That's pretty solid. So I think both of these guys are pretty interesting. Really good slider from Kloffenstein, and Roberts has a very good changeup and some command that could be elite, but is currently below average.
Yeah,
pretty good return for like a rental.
Definitely for a rental reliever to get a top 10 prospect. It was really kind of showing to be a major seller's market with some of the prospects that were being given up. Roberts, I like Roberts, whatever. Who cares? The Dutch guy. Yeah, he's sort of like a low 90s fastball guy, but he's got the good changeup. He's also developed a really good sweeper. They said this year his sweepers come a long way, which is the next big thing pitch-wise in baseball. The next big thing, it's always been one. It's just they're just changing how it works. So hopefully, but the Cardinals kind of very clearly going after guys like this, getting some starting pitching prospects because their pitching development has been absolutely awful. Mm-hmm. And we'll see that sort of trend continue with this next trade. And they traded away probably I wouldn't even say probably, he was the best pitcher from their staff this season, Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton to the Rangers in exchange for relief pitcher prospect John King, Tekoa Roby, and who's the number 11 prospect in the Texas system. He becomes number 4 for the Cardinals. And then Thomas Sagasi, I guess is what it is.
Sagasi, these nuts.
Okay, shut up, Jake. That was the last podcast. The number 14 prospect for the Rangers. He becomes number 8 in the Cardinal system.
Yeah, interesting trade. I think the Rangers set out to really supplant that rotation after supplant was not the right word. Supplement. There we go. After they lost Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi also hit the IL. So they add both Scherzer and Jordan Montgomery. That's a pretty good duo to add at the deadline. If they still had like maintained the guys that they had before that, I mean, deGrom and Eovaldi at full strength with Scherzer and Montgomery is pretty ridiculous. That would make like John Gray your number 5 starter. But right now they'll still be relying on some other guy. So definitely helps that team out. The Rangers are clearly going all out. They had a pretty decent deadline in my mind. They also get Chris Stratton, who gives some depth to that bullpen. He's not really anything special. I think he's like pretty mid. Let's see. What's his F4 at? I'm guessing below 1. Exactly 1. No way. What
the heck?
He making me look stupid.
Wow.
How do you feel about Jormont going to the Rangers?
I mean, I guess it makes sense. They lost some depth. So first off, the problem with the Rangers like rotation, if we've already seen it, it's like when everyone is healthy, it's gas. When
we said that before the season.
Yeah, and then now Nathan Eovaldi's hurt. Jacob deGrom's done for the season.
What a surprise!
You can't really rely on John Gray, and you're sort of seeing that he had a really hot start, and now he's sort of falling back down to earth to where we sort of expected. Same with Martin Perez; he's more back to
he's in the bullpen guy now,
and now he got fired. He's in the bullpen. They fired him, not in the rotation anymore. Go to the bullpen, bozo.
Mm-hmm.
So they add Jormont. They added Scherzer, who looked like he was going to get trash canned in his first start yesterday, but he was pretty good. And he had a pretty rough first inning, but bounced back pretty well. Got a quality start. And then I don't know. They sort of needed to do this. I think if they're going to push all in, these are also some guys that they're losing out on, like Tekoa Roby, starting pitching prospect. He's in Double-A. He's 21. And to be fair, he's been really good in Double-A, but you're already banking a lot of money into your rotation that this guy just sort of doesn't fit in for the next couple of years. If you're going to push like all in, these are guys you give up and you don't really feel too bad about it. It makes sense. I like this trade a lot for the Rangers. They gave up some guys. Tekoa Roby, I think, is really good. He obviously becomes, I think he's number 4 in the Cardinals system, is what I said. And then the infielder prospect they got is really good. I like him a lot from what I have seen. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to say it again because Jake's going to make it. But yeah, I like this trade. And given on what the Cardinals have been, because they've been ass this year, they've been really bad. Giving up just rentals and getting back the pieces they got, really solid deadline from them.
Yeah, definitely. Tekoa Roby, I think that's a really cool name.
Yes, it is.
Sort of what I like about him. 21-year-old at AA, right-handed pitcher, 5.05 ERA, but it does come with a 3.91 xFIP. I think this is a guy that's more projectable. He's got a really good curveball. He throws pretty hard as well, so that'll be one that's interesting to watch. He's still pretty young, got some room to grow. And then Thomas S. Has been really good this year at AA as a 21-year-old. He's a second baseman, third baseman. I put him as a shortstop. Maybe he can also play some shortstop. He batted .313 with a 133 WRC plus, 15 homers and 8 steals at AA this year with the Rangers. So I think both of those guys definitely projectable with the ability to be pretty solid. I think Thomas is probably on the lower end of that, but that's sort of suggested by his number 8 placement on the Cardinals prospect list. But they really expanded their top prospect list, because they were looking pretty bleak in terms of prospects, and they really added a lot of guys there. And then John King, sort of a throw-in reliever type that can also start a little bit, or I wouldn't say start. He's never started a game, but I think he can give a little bit of length out of the bullpen as well. He's pretty average, 0.7 F4 for his career across 4 seasons, but he is a left-hander, and those are hard to come by.
Yeah, the infielder prospect, Thomas S., whatever his name is, he's failed to post below a 127 WRC plus at any level he's played at so far as a professional. Pretty good. He seems like a guy that'll come up and be like a Brendan Donovan guy, utility infielder. They have him as like a shortstop, but he plays like third.
Cardinals are great at that.
Yeah, they're really good at developing hitters, random dudes that can't develop pitching though. So hopefully one of these pitching prospects can pan out that they've acquired. And then the Royals, they made a trade. They traded Nicky Lopez to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for recently acquired for cash considerations by the Braves from Texas, Taylor Hearn, who was assigned to AAA. This trade for the Royals just proves that the Royals are run by a bunch of hamsters in a wheel that power an AI computer. It's stupid trade. The Royals are terrible, and this is evidenced by this trash ass trade and the fact that they have like 22 wins and they have a bottom 3 farm system. They suck. The Royals should be disbanded, and the Royals should be sent to AAA, the Moon, somewhere. Get them out of professional baseball because they're just not.
I don't get it.
They're worse than the Rockies.
They could have had Taylor Hearn. He was on waivers. That's how the Braves got him. And instead they were like, no. We'd rather trade for him from Nicky Lopez. Maybe the Braves were ahead of them in the waiver claim. I have no idea. But that seems pretty goofy. I do like Taylor Hearn as a pitcher. I think he's got some potential. He's a hard-throwing left-hander. He's only 28 years old. Can give some length out of the bullpen as well, or start. Does have an ERA over 14 this year. But I do think he has some potential, but it is goofy the way that they went. I've never really been a big fan of Nicky Lopez. I think he's a cool dude, plays for Team Italy, had a really good year in 2021. Incredible defender at second base, can play some shortstop as well. But one of the most noodly of bats in baseball. The guy has 190 plate appearances this year. Do you want to guess how many barrels he has? The perfect ideal combination of exit velocity and launch angle. 0. He has 0 barrels. Yeah, 0 barrels, sub 20% hard hit rate. Nice. His 281 slugging percentage is overperforming his expected slugging percentage of 276. He's got one of the noodliest bats in baseball, but he is a great defender. Braves, not really a team that really need defenders, big bats. So he sort of fits that team perfectly, in that he can be a good defender, shortstop, second base, wherever you want him in the infield, can even play some corner outfield. I guess he's pretty athletic, and then also can be like a speed guy. So it'll be fine. I'm sure they know what they're doing, but they literally gave up nothing.
This trade is stupid because he's controllable too. He's only got 3 years of service. Jake, he walks 11% of the time. Who on earth is walking this guy?
Yeah,
he can't.
He's just not swinging.
Yeah, just throw him strikes down the middle. He won't barrel it.
Yeah, that's right. He cannot.
Yeah.
He physically can't.
He just can't. He's hitting .213 and he's got a .323 on base percentage. Elite hitter. Yeah, this is still really stupid. He's a controllable guy, and he might not be worth a ton, but I feel like they definitely could have got more than Taylor Hearn out of him. What was the point of this trade? I don't understand, but
They're
whatever.
Having fun, bro. They're having fun.
Yeah, they must be. This is like one of the just random MLB The Show trades that you make, like you offer it and you hit the suggest trade button or whatever when you put some random dude in there and see what you can get. Yeah, Taylor Hearn, I want that guy. Like, I don't know. Or if like maybe the Braves were going to trade Taylor Hearn and they did the suggest trade and the Royals offered up Nicky Lopez, and that's just how it happened.
Yep.
This trade is really stupid. I don't even think the Rockies thing is like relevant for this because I don't think the Rockies would.
They're next.
I don't think the Rockies would make this stupid of a trade. But the Rockies actually did make a good trade. They traded C.J. Cron and Randall Grichuk to the Angels in exchange for the number 8 prospect in Los Angeles in the Angels system. Jake Madden, starting pitching prospect, becomes number 20 in the Rocky system. And they also got Mason Albright, who's the number 28 prospect, becomes number 21 for the Rockies. Sort of like a weird disparity, like 8 to 28, 20 and 21 is kind of weird.
I think it just because they only update these lists like a couple times a year. So this gives them a chance to sort of reevaluate based on a season. And a lot of these guys are lower levels in the minor. So things can change a lot after a year. But I mean, major league side, I think the Angels made out. Both of these guys are former Angels, Cron and Grichuk, both previously members of the Los Angeles-based team. And Cron, it sort of sucks, I think, for both of these guys fantasy-wise. I know we're not a fantasy show, but leaving Colorado, I think sucks. Obviously, you get like better numbers on the road because you don't have like the Coors Field effect of like going from high altitude to low altitude and seeing different movement of pitches. But I mean, these guys, I think, are pretty average hitters. Cron has been that across the past couple of seasons. Not a good defender at all at first base, but does provide some power. I think he's like a 25 home run hitter who can bat like 250. And, sometimes that plays, especially for a team like the Angels that are always looking for depth. And then Grichuk, I mean, he's just sort of Randall Grichuk, he's just a guy. He's had like good seasons in the past, but he's sort of fallen off now that he's entering his 30s. He's batting .311 this year for the Rockies, but it comes with a .371 BABIP. Obviously, that's coming down. He's been a 101 WRC plus hitter for his year and for his career, and that's why I say he's just a guy, not a special defender, pretty average hitter, and but he does just, provide that depth that they need, with Taylor Ward hitting the IL for the rest of the season after getting hit in the face by Alek Manoah. Mike Trout on the IL right now, currently dealing with, I can't remember what he's dealing with. The hamate fracture. So they could definitely use some outfield help. And this is a good trade. If the Angels are going all in, this is the type of trade that you make. Just some like solid major leaguers that you can count on that are going to be there and you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, Jake Madden's a JUCO bandit. He's in A-ball right now. He's 21 years old in A-ball with a 5.7 FIP, which is not very good. Mason Albright does look like a guy. He's also in A-ball at 20 with a 4.39 FIP and like a 4.10 xFIP, something like that. But he's shown plus control so far. I like these pitching prospects, but these are also pitching prospects that are going to the Colorado Rockies. So,
oof, R.I.P.
Yeah, struggle bus for these guys.
I can see why Madden fell off so hard. He literally just hadn't pitched in the minors, and then he pitched in the minors and was over 5 on all of his ERA and ERA estimators. So it sort of makes sense that he would go from like 8 to 20. And I think the Rocky system is also deeper than the Angel system. But yeah, I mean, you never know with pitching prospects in general, and then also with Rockies pitching prospects, they're always at risk of just getting wrecked when they hit the majors.
Definitely. The Rockies have also acquired some absolutely excellent pitching names from the trades that they've made. Talk about them a little bit later. But Yeah, their names are just spectacular so far. Really big fan. This next trade, I am not a big fan of for one of the teams in question. The Guardians traded starting pitcher Aaron Savali to the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for Kyle Manzardo, first base prospect. He's the number 37 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. The number 4 prospect in the Tampa Bay Rays system becomes the number 3 prospect for Cleveland. What were your immediate thoughts on this? Because this was sort of a weird one. Didn't really get this
immediate thoughts is I love this trade for the Rays. Who did they give up? Who did they get? That's like the have you heard that one?
No, I have not.
That one's a classic. Just Rays always win their trades. Clearly, that's been disproven in the past. But yeah, you always got to trust the Rays a little bit. Aaron Savali has been really good this year. I think this is a team that's been dealing with a lot of injuries. We just saw Shane McClanahan hit the IL, and we don't know how bad that's going to be since it's like an elbow thing. So they definitely need some rotation depth. And while Savali has been a guy that's hit the IL a lot in the past, never thrown more than 124 innings in a season, he does have that sense of like he can eat innings. He can be like an innings eater, not somebody you have to like limit. And while his xFIP and his ERA are more than 2 runs apart, I do believe that the Rays will be able to like help him reach another level. But yeah, giving up the highest rated prospect dealt at the trade deadline is pretty interesting. I know Savali does have 2 more years of control after this year, 24 and 25. So they get him for 2.5 years, but you are giving up a big first baseman prospect. What were your initial thoughts, Davis?
My initial thoughts on this, I literally put in our group chat and that I hated this trade for the Rays. It's difficult to like say like, oh no, the Rays blew it, because the Rays have one of the smartest front offices in baseball. But I'm a big fan of Kyle Manzardo as a prospect. I think he's really good, and I think the fact that 2.5 years gets you a first base prospect for a team that hasn't really been able to develop a first baseman at all in a long time. The best one they had was Carlos Santana, and he was a catcher that they sort of shifted over. They've been trying to fill a void there since Santana left a couple years ago. But Kyle Manzardo could potentially be up as early as this year, and he sort of could be the answer there. I really like him. He's rocking like an 89% zone contact rate, really good. Like max exit velocity, 112. He hits the ball hard. He walks all the time. He's got like a 13.5% walk rate throughout the minors right now. Like almost a 10% barrel percentage. He does it all. He's sort of struggled in AAA a little bit, but he's 23. I think he's a pretty safe prospect, especially for Cleveland that sort of needs someone like this. I thought they had a really good deadline because they sold they didn't sell just rental pieces, because we're talking about Aaron Savali. They have 2.5 years of control, but Savali's an innings eater. And I think that's basically what his ceiling is going to be. He's an innings eater. He doesn't strike a whole lot of guys out, doesn't walk a ton. He's like a really high-end Josh Tomlin. I'd be fine with, giving that up for potentially what could be the answer at first base for you for the next, 7 years.
I feel like Josh Naylor's a pretty good answer at first base, but
I don't know
how long he's around.
But you could also move Josh Naylor to an outfield spot or have him DH and have Kyle Manzardo there. This is a guy that makes sense for Cleveland that sort of also get a lot of guys like this. They walk a ton. It's a team that's sort of always done that. So
that's true. They do like the walk and strikeout rate numbers. I don't know. I feel like all your nerd numbers are dancing around the fact that he sucked this year.
You shut up.
93 WRC plus at AAA as a 22-year-old. That jump from the lower levels of the minors to AAA has been a little bit rough for him. He had 22 homers last year in between high A and double A and had a really low strikeout rate. It's jumped this year, not super high, but it does seem like he does still have a little bit of work to do to make more contact. He's batting just 238 at AAA. And while I do believe there is still a lot of potential here, clearly the prospect rankers agree as well, as they didn't sort of demote him in the Cleveland ranks after coming over from Tampa Bay. But there is definitely like some sense of why the Rays felt like they could part with him. I mean, as he reached the higher levels of the minors, AAA has been like one of the best like offensive spots. I know they have like different leagues in AAA that are different offensively, but I know AAA has been like crazy this year offensively, and he has not been able to take advantage of that. So maybe they saw something there where they're just like, yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be more of like a meh guy. But we've seen recently, I mean, who did they give up for Nathaniel Lowe? he's really good. I don't think they gave up a lot. They traded him to the Rangers, and I can't even think of somebody on the Rays that's from the Rangers. But yeah, I think this can. Thank you. This can be considered a win-win in that the Guardians get a projectable first baseman that could be a middle of the order bat for quite a long time, 5 or 6 years. And then Savale will help out a rotation that is really in need of some consistency and depth and will be there for 2.5 years. What do you got on Nate Lowe?
They traded infielder Oslavis Basabe, catcher/outfielder Heriberto Hernandez, and outfielder prospect Alexander Avias. So I've never heard of any.
That's who the Rangers traded.
Yeah, that's who the Rays got. That's who the Rays got in that trade.
The Rays got Oslavis, who's their number 5 prospect now. Heriberto Hernandez is their 15 prospect now. And who's the other guy?
Alexander Avias.
Alex.
Ovalles.
He is not ranked. So I don't know. That one's mixed reviews. I think it depends on how good Oslavis and Heriberto.
Rangers also got Jake Gunter in that trade.
Oh man, no, not Jake Gunter.
He might be in their top something prospect. He might exist still.
He does not. He's not in their top 30. But Nate Lowe's been really good, and the Rays could definitely use Nate Lowe.
Definitely. I don't know. It's just difficult to tell right now, but I like Manzardo a lot as a prospect. I think he projects still pretty well, and the Guardians really need a first baseman. Like, look who they've been trotting out like the last couple of years, like Jake Bowers and Bobby Bradley, and like random dudes that just aren't very good at baseball. Josh Bell was one here that we will talk about also in a little bit. In this next trade, was a bit of a weird one. We talked about this a little bit.
This one's an interesting one. I like this one.
I don't think either one of us really thought that he was going to get traded, but this one, of course, is the Mariners trading their closer Paul Sewald to the Diamondbacks in exchange for Josh Rojas, who's already been up this year, outfielder prospect Dominic Canzone, Canzone, I don't know, number 19 prospect for the Diamondbacks, becomes number 13 for Seattle, and then second base prospect Ryan Bliss, who's 29th in the Diamondback system. He comes number 14 for the Mariners.
This one's super interesting because I think this one could be a win-win for both sides. And there's lots to think about here because, I mean, we can start with who the D-backs got. And Paul Sewald, who's been one of the best relievers for the last 3 years. Obviously, he's 33, but he does still have another year of control. So he will be in Arizona for more than just the next 2 months. And that's really cool because they've sort of been struggling to find a closer. That doesn't necessarily mean that a bullpen is bad, but it does give some uncertainty. I think relievers really like having roles. It definitely helps them prepare for the games and be ready to pitch in innings that they are used to. And Paul Sewald is used to pitching the ninth. And I think he's been one of the most underrated relievers in baseball over the past few years. Not really a household name, not really a guy you think of when you think of the best closers in baseball, but great year this year, sub-3 ERA, 35% strikeout rate. He's got 21 saves for the Mariners. He'll come over to Arizona and be the top option there. And I think Paul Sewald was a great guy to go and get. I mean, the Mariners definitely can't afford to give him up, having Andres Munoz there to follow up. But the Diamondbacks really needed to add to this bullpen, especially in that closer spot. And Paul Sewald was probably the best option that was like actually available. Clearly, like, I don't know, David Bednar was on the table. Nobody was going to go get him. You know what I mean? You'd have to give up way too much. I think Paul Sewald was the most realistic, legit closer that you could go out and get that still had another year of control as well. And that really like fits the Diamondbacks timeline, their competitive window too over the next couple of years. A great trade for the Diamondbacks, especially for me. Initially, I thought like Canzone, you know, number 19 prospect, Bliss, number 29 prospect, Rojas sort of sucked this year. And then you look into it more. How did you feel about the Diamondbacks return specifically?
I like pieces of the Diamondbacks return. Josh Rojas doesn't really inspire like
Diamondbacks return. They got Sewald.
Oh yeah. So the Diamondbacks return is excellent. Their bullpen's been fine, but getting the guaranteed closer there, because they've sort of bounced around from a couple different guys that have been there. And they started like the season with like Chafin and like Scott McGough or McGuff or whatever.
Scott McGuff, Miguel Castro, Kevin Ginkel.
Those are guys. They've been fine.
Those guys throw baseballs, I'm pretty sure.
They throw baseballs. They've been fine, but I like Paul Sewald, and imagine like the Mariners' return for this too is really good, considering that this was a minor league contract guy that they got 2.5 seasons ago.
Sure.
That they turned into an all-star closer and then a pretty big return here. And I think that they can afford to do it because they have Munoz, who's sort of been like, don't want to say like closer in waiting, but he's still been really good as like a setup
guy. Definitely is. He's incredible. Yeah, he's just some of the best really stuff in baseball. And they are really good at like pitching development. So they've been able to turn out just random dudes into great relievers.
But getting rid of a lot of the guys like that they gave up, like Rojas doesn't really like for the Diamondbacks, Rojas doesn't really mean much to you. Canzone is an outfield prospect that's deep in their farm system, and that is probably the most loaded that they are at any position. Yep. So giving up any of those guys, they don't care. They don't care that much. And then Ryan Bliss is like a weird lottery ticket sort of prospect. He's 29th in their system. He's 5'6". He's insanely fast. I don't know if you've seen any clips of him. It's really fast. But I don't know. These all feel like expendable guys that the Mariners would be happy to have. I like this trade. You called it a win-win. I think it's exactly that. Andres Munoz can sort of be fast-tracked to be the closer for the Mariners now. Matt Brash can move up a spot. They basically just shuffle the order a little bit. And now they have, space to let Andres Munoz breathe. They're taking a year off. They're probably not going to compete. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But they're not really selling either. They got rid of Sewald, who has another year of control, but they get some guys that could help them in the future. Second base, sort of like a position of need. They kind of could use a guy like Ryan Bliss there, who, he could be like Altuve. He could also be like Tony Kemp. We don't really know. And then an outfielder prospect. I don't know. I don't hate it. Josh Rojas is a utility guy. I like this trade for both sides.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. I mean, initially I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I thought the Diamondbacks got a steal because I really feel good about Paul Sewald. But then when I looked into it more, I think these guys are just underrated prospects. And the fact that they moved up pretty high when they transferred organizations in the prospect rankings, it sort of suggests a lot. I mean, Rojas, I think he's like an average major leaguer. So like a 2-WAR guy where he can be all right in the field, can provide a little bit of power, some speed, and just be like an overall solid guy. But he's not been great in the majors this year or in the minors, but that's a guy that can play all over the field too. So definitely works as like a depth guy. But Canzone, I mean, I thought he's like more of a quad A guy, in my opinion, where he doesn't really have a position. He's positionless, not a great fielder, but his bat is crazy at AAA this year. He's 25, so that's why it's like a quad A guy, but he is blocked by a lot of guys in Arizona, like you said, batting .354 with a 149 WRC plus 16 home runs. He's got a 12.8% walk rate and a 13.2% strikeout rate. I mean, those are some incredible numbers. I know he's 25, he's still in the minors, but those are numbers that will play. He is a left-handed hitter, so he will sort of be crushed by the bad ballpark there in Seattle for left-handed hitters, but those are legit numbers. And Ryan Bliss gives me vibes of Tony Kemp in that he's just a short guy, just a little guy, but he's, like you said, really fast. 30 stolen bases at AA this year as a 23-year-old, 31 last year at high A. A little bit of power too, 12 home runs, doesn't strike out a lot. Batted .358 at AA. Both of these guys, huge batting averages, 163 WRC plus for Bliss. Both of these guys, I think, very underrated and do have the possibility of like being legit major leaguers if they do live up to their potential.
Definitely. Dipoto talked specifically about wanting Ryan Bliss in this trade too, because he wants the Mariners to get faster. So, so they've made a couple trades and a couple international signings to try to get faster in the last couple of years. And Bliss sort of fits that model. I just like this trade for both sides. Ryan Bliss is going to be a guy I really hope succeeds because it's cool to see those guys like the shorter guys, the short kings succeed in Major League Baseball. So that one sounds really fun for me.
Yeah.
Next trade, we talked about Tony Kemp. We can talk about one of Tony Kemp's former teammates, Mark Canha, obviously now formerly of the Mets because he was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers, trying to add some offense to their very, very, very bad one. The Mets received starting pitching prospect Justin Jarvis in this trade. He was number 30 in the Brewers system, number 15 Mets system.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Brewers really just needed some veteran stability there in the outfield. They were going with a lot of young guys. Exactly. Sal Frelick, Joey Wiemer, Tyrone Taylor's pretty young, but they also had like Blake Perkins out there alongside Christian Yelich. So Canna likely to play some DH in left field, but definitely supply some stability there. He's nothing like super crazy, pretty average hitter, 103 WRC plus, nothing crazy in the field, but I think he's a very solid hitter. He's also an ally if that sort of changes your view on players at all. But
one that would come out to like Whitney Houston.
Like he definitely did some cool stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure his walkout song was Whitney Houston for a while.
Yeah. The Mets, though, I think they did a really good job at like prospect identification at this deadline, where they were getting guys that are lower in prospect rankings. And I know that's sort of different when you're talking from organization to organization, because I know internally you're updating your prospect lists every single day. It's not something that is frozen in time until, you reach that arbitrary point where you update them again, like most prospect lists do. But Jarvis going from 30 to 15 in New York, and the Brewers prospect list is, I wouldn't say good. He's been very solid this year. 23-year-old at AA, 3.33 ERA, struck out 28% of batters. Pretty solid guy. I mean, 6'2". I don't really have much information on that outside of the numbers, but I trust the prospect rankers when they say this guy makes a big leap as he moves to New York and should be pretty solid. And I mean, already pitching at AAA, possibility that he can be up next year.
Yeah. I like Justin Jarvis. He could potentially be up pretty soon. He struggled a little bit in AAA, but in AA, he was nails. Yeah. He had the 8th best strikeout to walk percentage and the 9th best strikeout percentage in general. Command's sort of like spotty, but when it's on, it's really, really on. Right now, he's just sort of been bad in AAA because he's made a couple starts and he's just walked the world. But that's basically been it. I think he's got like he had like a 9.2 walks per 9 and like a 8 something strikeouts per 9 in like a couple starts in AAA, but it's like 3 starts, so it is what it is. I like this get for the Mets. It's obviously a guy that doesn't really fit your plan because we all heard the Scherzer news of like, oh, the Mets are going to try to retool for like 2025. So yeah, I think this could be pretty good. The Mets getting the most out of their rental pieces and their guys that they just don't really need anymore. The next trade that we're going to talk about, we're going to stick in the NL East, talk about the cellar dweller there, the Washington Nationals. They traded away their big reclamation project, and this one was a pretty good one. They traded Jeimer Candelario back to the Cubs, obviously formerly Chicago Cub in 2016. Goes back now, gets to wear number 9. Obviously didn't get to do that when he was there the first time. But this is a pretty good trade.
Why, obviously?
Wow, because Javier Baez wore number 9.
I don't know numbers. That's the one thing I do not care about is
Javier Baez number 9. The Nationals received shortstop prospect Kevin Made. He was the number 14 prospect in the Chicago Cubs system. He comes number 16 for the Nationals. And then starting pitching prospect DJ or David John Hurst, number 16 prospect for the Cubs, comes number 17 for the Nationals.
I'm just going to let you go on this one as your team.
Yeah, so obviously Candelario was probably the biggest bat left in the trade market to be had. The Cubs went on a surge, won, I think it was like 8 or 9 straight to try to get back in the hunt, and they've still been on a winning streak now. But they've they've traded for Candelario. They traded for Candelario. He's actually going to be playing mostly first base, is what they've been saying,
which is weird because he's been so good defensively.
He's been insane defensively. But in case you haven't looked, Jake, you should look at Nick Madrigal's defensive stats on Fangraphs, because Nick Madrigal has very quietly been one of the better defenders at third base.
He's got a noodle arm. How could he be good?
If you should watch Nick Madrigal play, every time he fields a ball, he takes like 4 steps before he throws it.
I did see that video.
It makes it look like he has a gun. But Candelario
he just runs at first base and just
he does it
halfway across the infield, and he's like, doesn't. What an arm!
He does, and it works. It's crazy. Candelario before tonight had gotten on base in 9 of his 10 at bats for the Cubs. But the prospects that the Cubs gave up is sort of an underpay. I think Kevin Made's the number 14 prospect for the Cubs system, but he's a shortstop. They're extremely loaded in their farm system at that position. So that makes it really palatable if you're a Cubs fan, by the way. Like you can just go look at their prospect list, and they have Christian Hernandez ahead of him, Jefferson Rojas. They had Dernishe Valdez. They also have Ed Howard, if you remember him a couple years ago. He got drafted. Yep. They have him. And then DJ Hers is a guy that could be very good, but the big problem with him is he has major reliever downside. He's only really a 2-pitch guy. He's a lefty. If you look at him, he's got a cool look because he's really pale and he's blonde, dude. I think he was part of the Louisville team a while ago in like the College World Series that made a run. But I might be wrong on that. I don't know.
No idea.
But yeah, Kevin Made is a solid shortstop prospect. Only problem with him is his ground ball percentage is very bad. Does not elevate the ball very much. Launch angle is kind of bad. So Nationals, I think getting guys like this that, are lottery ticket prospects, because that's what they are. Hers could be really good. He's gone up through the minors pretty solidly. He's like a major like project prospect when they got him. But the reliever downside there is pretty major, but that's okay because they have a lot of good young starters. They can afford to get a guy that can be a reliever and be a controllable one. They got a couple guys like that already. They didn't trade any of the Hunter Harveys to Kyle Finnegan and stuff like that. So I think you got to be happy with that. And if you're the Cubs, you're definitely happy with getting Candelario. He's obviously shown that he's really good so far. Now, before tonight, I haven't looked at his stats for tonight, but he got on base in 9 of its 10 at bats, and he's got 8 hits. He had like 5 doubles and a couple singles. He scored like 6 runs. So I would already be pretty happy with that. The Cubs going for it, but they didn't really make very many other trades besides this one. But Candelario, pretty big get.
Yeah, he makes that lineup really deep, actually, and having the best season of his career, 129 WRC plus, 16 home runs, already at 3.6 WAR, just 0.3 away from his career high from 2021. Great hitter, more of a doubles guy. He does have 16 home runs, but he does have 33 doubles already. We got 2 more months left. His career high is 42, which he did in 2021. Big doubles guy. Kevin Made seems like he's going to have to figure something out. It doesn't seem to have too strong of a bat, but he is 20. And like you said, Hers, not a lot of command, does have a lot of strikeouts, is a left-hander. That does suggest that he could be a pretty solid reliever. So I wouldn't say I like the return for the Nats, but I think the Cubs did pretty well here too, and not give up too much for a guy that's only going to be there for half a year, third of the year.
Definitely. Congratulations on the Nationals, and big job done there, getting a real reclamation project and getting some pretty decent prospects, even if they're not the best ones in the world, for a guy that you had on a 1-year deal that's doing you nothing now, having him on your team. So getting anybody of any consequence for that is really good. This one, we talked about my team. We're going to talk about yours now. The Mariners traded AJ Pollock and is it Matthias or Matthias?
Whatever you want.
Whatever. Mark Matthias to the Giants in exchange for
that sounds wrong. Never mind.
Some dude to be named later.
Yeah. Can't believe this is the only thing that they did. AJ Pollock is bad. He's not good anymore. He used to be good. He's had his times, but he's a short side platoon bat, not great defensively. That gets injured about as often as you can get injured. And he's also 35 and is a free agent this next year. So we don't know who they gave up yet. And then Mark Matthias is just a guy that plays every single position except for shortstop and catcher, is 28 and has been in the minor leagues since being acquired by the Mariners. And that's all the Giants did. That's all. They also gave up a reliever earlier. But that's all they did. And it's really disappointing. I don't like this trade. Mariners can't really consider what they did because we don't know who they got.
Player to be
really disappointing.
Player to be named later, Patrick Bailey or something really bad.
No. That'd be wild.
That made Jake upset. Yeah, Mark Matthias is a guy that plays baseball.
He does play baseball.
Mm-hmm. He existed. He'd been in the minors. He's started the season with the Pirates.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. All right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, baseball team acquires baseball players. The Cubs made one more trade, and this one was sort of a weird one. Talked about a good one. I think this one is a weird one. The Cubs traded Nelson Velasquez, who's sort of been like a quad A outfielder, to the Royals for Jose Cuas. I think is how we determined that it is pronounced. Jose Cuas is a guy with bad stats so far. It's been good the last couple outings he's had. He's a sidearm submarine dude.
Yeah,
I've actually not watched him pitch yet.
Is he really sidearm?
Yeah, he's a sidearm guy.
I've never watched him pitch either.
Yeah, he's a sidearm guy.
That's cool.
He's a dude.
Oh gosh.
He pitched yesterday for the Cubs, and I didn't see it.
Yeah, he had a really cool story. This was a guy that like he does pitch sidearm. This was a guy that was like gave up on pitching a few years ago, and then like I think he started pitching in indie ball, and like some team found him, and then he like worked his way back, and that's why he made his major league debut at 28 last year. So he just had like a really cool story of like almost giving up on baseball and then, you know, giving it another try and becoming a major leaguer, which is really cool. He's not great though. I mean, this is something we mentioned when it happened. He's just like pretty mid 0 F4 across 42 and 2/3 innings suggests he's exactly replacement level. So basically just any AAA reliever you call up going to be just as good as Cuas. And 4.30 ER xFIP, 4.43 ERA, pretty solid strikeout rate, 26%, but he is a reliever, walks a lot of guys. Slider he doesn't use a lot, so maybe that's like something the Cubs can tap into. But yeah, I don't know. It really depends on how you feel about Nelson Velasquez. I mean, you compare the ages, and that's where it starts to get sort of weird. Velasquez, big power, he's pretty fast too, but strikes out a lot and
all the time. Yeah,
not a great defender. So I mean, it really just depends on how you feel about him. How do you feel about him?
He had a really sick grand slam at the start of the season. That was basically it. Nelson Velasquez is sort of like a quad A outfielder, and this is also pretty palatable for the Cubs. A lot of people were mad because they got rid of Nelson Velasquez. Nelson Velasquez just hasn't really stuck when he's played because he strikes out all the time. And the Cubs, like I talked about, they were deep at shortstop, so they traded some of their shortstop prospects. The Cubs are extremely deep prospect-wise in the outfield. You look at their top 10, and they have 4 outfielders in it that are probably better than Nelson Velasquez already. So getting a guy though like Jose Cuas, I don't really get it. The only thing that like sort of makes sense is the Cubs have been really good at like sort of ironing out like weird reliever types. Like they fixed Mark Leiter, and then they also had I don't know if you remember last year they had Scott Effross trade. They had the Effross trade, and Effross is a side armor. So they had him. They made, I feel like maybe they think they can get more out of him like they got out of Effross. They had Steve Cishek a couple years ago. They like weird sidearm guys. So maybe they wanted a weird sidearm guy. That's the only thing that I could possibly think of. But getting rid of Nelson Velasquez kind of sucks, but they have a lot of outfielders that they sort of need to make way for anyway. And then they extended Happ. They have Suzuki. And now they might potentially try to re-sign Cody Bellinger.
They have PCA.
They obviously their top prospect is Pete Crow Armstrong. Even if you look deeper into their top 10, they have Brennan Davis, who's their former number 1 prospect, who's sort of
that guy
prospect.
Stinks.
Yeah, he's been hurt. He hurt his back, so he's probably not going to be a center fielder anymore. But yeah, I mean, Nelson Velasquez is a guy. Jose Cuas is a guy. This was a trade. We can talk about something else now. We can talk about another trade that is a real weird one. The Oakland A's traded Sam Moll to the Reds. This is the only trade the Reds made, by the way. The Reds, excuse me, you have it as the Reds receive. The A's receive Joe Boyle, who's the number 28 prospect in the Red system, comes number 22 in the Oakland A's system.
Yeah. And Sam Moll, guy, he's got some control, 24, 25, 26, and 27, 4 more years of control after this year. Left-hander, pretty solid, not too much above the league average. He's, I don't know, just a guy, 28% strikeout rate, solid reliever. He's a lefty. That's about it. And then I can't believe that's the only trade the Reds made. Like they were in such a position to just go ham at this deadline. They have so many prospects, especially like infielders that they could deal from in terms of depth. And they had such a clear need of just like pitchers, and they just got one. And that was it. So that really sucks for them, because I think this could be like almost a death note for like their playoff chances, which sucks. Joe Boyle, big strikeout guy, big walk guy, 31% strikeout rate this year at AA as a 23-year-old, 19% walk rate, 19%. So God, big strikeouts. He's just super wild. Command 20 on the 20 to 80 scale. That makes sense. Big fastball, but yeah, definitely going to need to throw some strikes. Maybe the A's can sort of iron that out, but that seems like a guy that is likely to become a reliever. He did make 19 starts this year at AA, but those walks are going to become a problem real soon.
Yeah, MLB.com has his scouting grade with an 80 grade fastball, and he's 6'7". Big dude.
I'll take it.
And then Fangraphs has his curveball as a 60 grade, so that's pretty good. He just walks literally everybody. Joe Boyle is a pitcher name. That's an A's guy right there.
Sure.
But Sam Mole to the Reds, that being their only addition, not good. I would probably be pretty upset if I was a Reds fan, because they had a chance to really win this division. That the teams suck. Like, the division is not very good. Like, the Cubs are surging, and then they add a lot, and then the Reds add a reliever, and that's it. I would be pretty irritated. The A's continued to trade everything that's of any consequence that's not named Tony Kemp. They traded Jace Peterson to the Diamondbacks in exchange for starting pitcher Chad Patrick.
Yeah, the marquee signing, Jace Peterson, nets them a pitcher that doesn't even land on their top 30 prospect list, is 24 at AA with a 4.71 ERA. I think that tells you how good that trade was for the A's. Jace Peterson will be like a platoon guy at third base, has the ability to play all over the infield. Not a great hitter, but pretty solid defensively. Can play third base, second base, first base. Basically does it all. Power, speed, but more of like a depth guy that you get. So, I mean, not super consequential on either side. Just sucks that, like, I know, like, obviously Peterson's not great. 0.8 F4 this year, 2.1 last year in a career year. But like that was your marquee free agent acquisition. Nets you Chad Patrick, who, sure, he's a great guy, probably a chiller, but actually I feel like I'm going to regret that. He's not like, what? It's just as a non-prospect as non-prospects get, and that's what you get up. I mean, clearly the A's didn't go crazy this offseason if that was their big acquisition.
Yeah, surprised Tony Kemp made it through the deadline somehow.
Right, and Tony Kemp and Trevor May. They had a few guys that were like clear trade guys, and then they just didn't. How did I spell his name?
What the next one?
What did I call him?
Adrian Sampson.
Nice. But yeah. I how did they not trade? I mean, Tony Kemp, I guess you can be like, well, he's like here for the fans. Like, we love Tony Kemp. He's sick. I love him in for the A's, and maybe Trevor May's like equal strikeout and walk numbers, where like nobody wanted to give up anything other than like a bag of sunflower seeds. So maybe it does make sense. But yeah, that's crazy. They couldn't get anything for them.
Yeah. I don't know. The A's seem like they don't really have a clear plan. It's just, we've got some guys who might as well trade them.
Their plan is to lose games.
They're doing pretty good at it, to be fair.
They really are.
Yeah. A team whose plan is depending on which team you're looking at it, a team whose plan is to not win or is to not lose games is the Angels. They traded Tucker Davidson, who's not very good, to the Royals, whose plan is nobody knows. They traded him for cash considerations. So Tucker Davidson could be the next reliever that they trade for a magic bag of beans in a year or so.
True. Yeah, we can keep this one short. I was sort of just weirded out that the Angels would like trade any pitcher. Like, they are not in any position to just trade pitchers. This guy's a 27-year-old, like, former top prospect. He's been bad this year, 6.5 ERA, but it's comes with an xFIP that's 2.5 runs below that. So he's clearly been unlucky, and still projectable guy. Not a lot of strikeouts, but not a lot of walks. I just don't know why they would trade it, but I guess they added a lot of guys and they needed some extra dollary dues.
That's what I would have to think. They also they already have a lefty in their bullpen with Matt Moore coming back. Maybe they just don't need Tucker Davidson. I don't know. This one's a weird one. We'll skip past it because no one cares what the Royals do from this point on. Cubs made another trade. They traded away relief pitching prospect Manuel Rodriguez, Man-Rod, and Adrian Sampson, who has been like a swing man, quad A starter kind of guy, to the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for AAA reliever Josh Roberson. This was a trade.
Why did they do this?
I don't know. Who knows?
I don't get this one for the Cubs. You trade two pitchers for one pitcher, and that one pitcher might be worse than both of the other two pitchers.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
The big thing for this was they cleared a little bit of money on payroll with Adrian Sampson, because Adrian Sampson was making pretty decent money, but they also in this trade got some
1.9 million. What the?
Yeah, so he had a big league contract. He had a big league contract. They just had to DFA.
I mean, he was solid last year, but yeah, he's got a 10 ERA in AAA this year in 23 innings.
The one thing that they also got was more international signing pool money, which is
cool. But
cool.
Manny Rodriguez is actually really good.
Yeah, he was up last year.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was up last year, and they let him close games. He actually had a chance to make the bullpen opening day, and they didn't give him a chance. And then they traded him for a guy that looks just worse than him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't get it.
It's really weird. It's mainly to clear
strikeout guy. Big strikeout guy, 33%. Doesn't walk too many guys. 2.91 xFIP at AAA this year. Is a 26-year-old, but I think this is a guy that, like you said, I mean, if you can trust him as the closer when he's walking more guys and he's striking out, then imagine what the Rays could do with him. Adrian Sampson, definitely a guy that you don't really have to worry about giving up. I mean, Josh Robertson, though, just 4.5 ERA, too many walks, doesn't have I think he throws pretty fast. He's got a good slider. But yeah, he is also 27 at AAA. Yet to make his debut in the majors and just reached AAA this year. So clearly worse than Manny Rodriguez. And then you're also giving up another guy on top of that.
Yeah, giving up Sampson is kind of weird, but they did I think they saved almost $650,000 out of their payroll.
Great. I'm so happy.
Which for the Cubs is no amount of money. You are the fourth most valuable franchise in baseball.
RIP headphone users.
Sorry. This next trade is a Rockies trade. The Dodgers traded Justin Broyle.
I don't know.
Who cares? The Dodgers trade Justin Broyle to the Rockies. They get cash considerations. Rockies get a guy that throws baseballs.
All right. Good one. Next one.
With some money. Anyway, yeah. Moving on. The Orioles traded Eduard Bazardo. This is a 80 grade name. Eduard Bazardo to the Mariners in exchange for relief pitching prospect Logan Reinhart. These are also guys that exist and play baseball.
Yeah, you never know what the Mariners are going to do with some outcast reliever. They could always turn him into somebody crazy. He does have a really good curveball. But yeah, that one's going to be sort of wait and see there. Logan Reinhart, though, actually really solid in the minors this year. High A 2023. He's 25 at high A, so that's a little caveat. 2.84 ERA, got 34% strikeout rate. That's really good. But like I said, caveat, he is 25. He's the same age as I am, and he's at high A. So definitely we'll need to repeat that success as he climbs the minor ranks. But you also got to trust the Orioles with some relievers as well. So I think this one's a wait and see on two lower level relievers.
Yeah, this one was weird. I think Bazardo got DFA'd, and this was a DFA trade. So sure, why not? This next trade is another Rays trade. The Rays traded Luis Patino, whatever it is.
It's Nyo.
Yeah, Patino. I thought so. It just doesn't have the Inye over his
Sorry,
name.
I didn't take the time to do that.
Yeah, Jake is the worst. They traded Luis Patino to the White Sox in exchange for cash considerations. And I'm pretty sure Patino was part. I'm pretty sure he was part of the trade for Blake Snell. I'm gonna look.
He was. Yeah, he was a top prospect for the Padres at the time. He was really young when he was traded, just 20, and now he's pitched in the Rays for the past 3 years. Not been great, mostly because he's been injured a lot. I think this is a guy still with a lot of potential, but he is running the risk of just becoming a flame out prospect because he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. I think it's a good play for the White Sox to basically can't say so you got somebody for free when you just only pay money for them.
You literally bought him.
Yeah, but sort of got him for free. Didn't have to give up any prospects or major leaguers or anything. Should be interesting. But if the Rays couldn't figure him out, don't have too much confidence that the White Sox will be able to.
Yeah, the Rays were done with him, and they banished him to hell. The Chicago White Sox. So he's going to go there now. The Rays get their favorite player, cash considerations. The Brewers traded Alex Jackson to the Tampa Bay Rays in another move in exchange for starting pitching prospect Evan McKendry.
Yeah, we're definitely in the minor
These are guys that got
right
traded.
Now.
Yep.
We got a couple more, and then we'll get back into it. Right now, we're halfway through the deals to pick up the pace.
We're here forever.
But yeah, Alex Jackson, he is a guy that catches the baseball. He's 27, AAA. He's been in the majors over the past few years, ever since 2019. He's got power behind the plate, 12 home runs this year, strikes out a lot. Pretty solid defender. He's a depth play for the Rays. And then McKendry is a starter who's got a 4 ERA, and he's 25 at AAA. And I don't really have any opinion on him. There's just I don't know. Here's what Prospects TLDR says. McKendry has mostly average stuff except for a plus changeup, and he really knows how to use that. So there's some chance for a sneaky effective Kyle Hendricks-like starter here, but he's had recent starts where he doesn't hit 90, and some scouts worry about a prior hip injury. So not too promising.
Alex Jackson hit a home run yesterday for the Durham Bulls. So
no way.
Very cool. Rangers traded Spencer Howard to the Yankees in exchange for cash considerations. They're just moving around.
He is again. He's on every team.
God dang. Edwin Jackson.
Every team's got
cash
him.
Considerations. Spencer Howard, former top prospect. He sucks now.
He does, unfortunately. I used to really like him when he was on the Phillies. I thought this was a guy
that
I
did too. I thought they had something.
I drafted him in 2020 or whenever I picked him up when he made his debut, and he just has not been able to reach that potential. He's transitioned into a relief role and still has not been great even in the minor league. So, I mean, maybe another change of scenery, a second change of scenery to a Yankees team that's pretty good at pitching development. So that'll be interesting to watch. He is starting to get up there in age. 26, not old, but this is a guy that's got a lot of control, but at this point, you can't really have too much faith in what he's doing.
Yeah, I got a funny tweet, but I'll save it for the next Yankees trade that we can talk about.
There you go.
Yeah. So the next one we just talked about Yankees trade, talk about a Mets trade. The Mets traded Dominic Leone, reliever, to the Los Angeles Angels in exchange for second base prospect Jeremiah Jackson. He's the number 9 prospect for the Angels. I'm getting ahead of myself. 9 prospect for the Angels. Comes number 22 for the Mets.
This trade sucks for the Angels. I mean,
not good.
Jackson's prospect star has definitely fallen as the prospect rankings from team to team suggests. He does have 15 home runs and 21 steals at AA this year as a 23-year-old, but he does strike out a lot, 27%. He's batting just 248, 100 WRC plus. He's not a great defender either, has sort of shifted to second base after being a shortstop prospect. So definitely a guy that you could deal for anybody other than Dominic Leone, who is just the epitome of below replacement level reliever, just negative 0.3 F4 this year. He was DFA'd by the Giants. He is a guy, he's a mid-4s ERA guy, strikes out a average amount of guys, 26%. He is just the epitome of just reliever that's depth, and obviously the Angels needed that, but they did trade Tucker Davidson. They didn't need to trade. I don't know how the Mets were just give us Jeremiah Jackson. You don't have to give them a ranked prospect for Dominic Leone, and at least definitely not a guy that's in your top 10, even if those rankings are outdated. That's this was one of those trades where I was the Angels looked so smart the whole time, and then they're just well, we'll just give you this guy if you give us your worst guy.
Do you have any of those guys that go in the bullpen? We do. I'll give you my number 9 prospect for any of them. Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Give you Dominic Leone. I don't know who that is, but sounds good to me. Yeah, this was a stupid trade for the Angels. They're a bunch of idiots. This next trade was a really weird one, and I didn't really understand it. But the Pennsylvania teams make a trade. The Philadelphia Phillies traded Bailey Falter to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Rodolfo Castro.
Yeah, Rodolfo has shown some potential in the past. He's got some power, he's got some speed, he's got some swing and miss, he's got some ability to play all over the infield, and he seems like a guy that's going to be a bench guy, which is good, but he's got a lot of control left, 2024, 25, 26, 27, and 28. He's going to be around for 5 years. Bailey Falter, solid reliever, starter and reliever, swingman type guy who's been pretty average for the Phillies this year. ERA over 5, not a big strikeout guy, but can pitch the baseball, which sometimes those guys are difficult to find. It just seems like a depth trade here for both sides.
Yeah, this one was a funny trade because Bailey Falter's got the long hair, and someone said that the Phillies were over the long hair salary cap and had to trade Bailey Falter because they got Michael Lorenzen.
And Matt, yeah, nice. Yeah,
I will quote Jake Crumpler near verbatim on Rodolfo Castro when I was about to pick him up in fantasy earlier this year, and I asked him, and I was like, I need an infielder, and I'm about to pick up Rodolfo Castro, and he said that guy sucks. And I said, don't sleep on Rodolfo Castro. And Jake said, I'm completely and totally asleep on Rodolfo Castro. Yeah, this is a trade of two guys that play baseball. Bailey Falter is pretty average pitcher, and Rodolfo Castro is a pretty average utility guy. So this was a trade that we don't have to talk about anymore. So we can talk about the next one, which is the Brewers trading Luis Urias to the Red Sox in exchange for an 80 grade baseball name, Bradley Blaylock, who was unranked. He becomes the number 15 prospect in the Brewers system. Shows you kind of just how bad the Brewers system is.
But also kind of how underrated Blaylock was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 2.55 ERA.
If he's nearly as good as his name, then
yeah. I think he had Tommy John surgery like in 2021 or after because he didn't pitch last year, and now he's at like A ball and high A as a 22-year-old, but he's been pitching really well. 1.50 ERA at A ball, 2.55 at high A. Obviously going to need to climb these levels quickly before he sort of ages himself out of it, but he does show really great command, pretty decent amount of strikeouts, sort of a projectable guy, still in the low levels of the minors. But I love this for the Red Sox because I am a big Luis Urias fan, as many people know. Very solid hitter, above average guy, 110 WRC plus type guy with the ability to play third base, shortstop, second base. And I love that because no matter what the Red Sox decide to do, this guy will play into the team. He just fits wherever you want him to fit. He's going to be around through 2025, 2 more years after this year. If you want him to just be a backup utility guy, he can do that. If you need him to be the shortstop because Trevor Story and Adalberto Mondesi can't stay injured, can't stay healthy, he'll be the shortstop. If you need him to just play some second base because second base is a hole for you, then yeah, he can do that. And he's going to just hit pretty solid, just dealing with injuries this year. But I do like me some Luis Urias, and I think the Red Sox really made out with a good trade here.
Yeah, I like Urias a lot. I'd be pretty happy with this if I'm a Red Sox fan. I like this. They also have just had sort of a log jam in like the infield for the Brewers, which has been sort of weird since they just haven't been developing that many guys that are not outfielders. It feels like they've run like 30 different young outfielders through their outfield, and then Luis Urias just can't get a look in with their team. But he's actually in AAA right now for the Red Sox. He's got a bunch of control left. He's only 26, which is still pretty crazy. But yeah, I like this trade a lot for the Red Sox. This next trade is the Royals making a trade because the Royals are the Royals and they have to trade all their players because they stink every year. They traded Ryan Yarbrough to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who were digging in the bargain bin. They traded Devin Mann, their first base prospect, number 29. He becomes number 26 in the Royals farm. And Derlin Figueroa. So this was a trade.
This trade is really funny because the Dodgers really wanted Eduardo Rodriguez, and he was just like, not only no, but also my wife's a Padres fan, so no. I just love that because then it also just Dodgers are like, all right, no, Eduardo Rodriguez, all right, pivot, plan B, Ryan Yarbrough. It's just so bad. He had that one good season where he was like the epitome of the bulk reliever after the opener. Yeah. He popularized it, and then ever since then he's just not been good. He's just a very, very replacement level pitcher, can eat some innings, and I love that he ends up on the Dodgers because he doesn't make them any better. And then they also had to give up prospects. Devin Mann, AAA 26-year-old second baseman. He's got 14 home runs. He's got a 125 WRC plus. He walks a lot. He's batting 307. Could be cool. Could be a quad A type guy. And then Derlin Figueroa. Derlin's a pretty sick name. He is 19. He's a rookie ball. And that one we'll have to wait and see, to be completely honest.
Ryan Yarbrough won Royals July Pitcher of the Month, which is very good. He actually
that is a bad group of pitchers.
He actually wasn't that bad. He had four starts. 3 of them were quality starts. He had 2.19 ERA with his 1.09 ERA.
Wow.
Yeah, only gave up 6
Dodgers
runs.
saw that and said, "We'll give you our prospects."
15 strikeouts in 24 2/3 innings, baby.
Ooh-wee.
You know, they've had some success with weird, like, soft tossing lefties like Tyler Anderson and Alex Wood in the last couple of years. So maybe Yarbrough won't suck, but he's not that good. Like,
sure.
So who really cares? The Dodgers also made another trade. They traded some guys that I'm pretty sure they just DFA'd anyway. Yeah, they traded Phil Bickford, who was a really good reliever just a couple seasons ago, and Adam Kolarek to the Mets in exchange for cash considerations.
Yeah, Kolarek sort of a throwaway here. He's just like a lefty specialist type guy. He doesn't strike out anybody. But Phil Bickford, only 27, sort of does figure into being one of the Mets like depth relievers over the next couple of years. He's got control through 2027. Been really bad this year, but he does strike out a lot of guys. Like I said, still 27, so he does have some projectability. And I don't mind this for the Mets and just sort of looking out for their bullpen 2 years down the line type thing.
Yeah, this wasn't that bad of a trade. The Dodgers sort of just had to get rid of somebody, and they got rid of Phil Bickford, who hasn't been that good this year. He wasn't that great last year, but 2021, he was still really solid. Maybe the Mets can figure out something with him. The Mets. Next, we get to talk about our favorite baseball team. The Rockies traded Brad Hand to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for relief pitcher Alec Barger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hand became the first pitcher ever to pitch for every single National League East team, which is a bit of trivia there for you. If you want somebody who's pitched for everybody,
legend.
AL East team, Steve Pearce has done that. I'm pretty sure. But anyway,
one for the NL West, Steve Finley's played for every.
Here we go. Just name them all. But yeah, Brad Hand. He is Brad Hand. He's been pitching in Colorado, so of course his numbers are going to look bad, and his underlying metrics are going to look better. He's pretty much been the same guy for the last few years, where he's just like he's there. He can do what he does. He can be a left-handed reliever, but he's not someone you want to rely on to like close out games like some other teams did back in 2021, namely the Nationals, who let him close 21 games. And I just gives some depth to a team that has been dealing with injuries. They lost Nick Anderson. AJ Minter was injured, and he's back now. But yeah, Braves bullpen not as stacked as it's been in the past, and Brad Hand definitely helps lengthen that. And you know, they really just like went to the Rockies and were just like, can we have all your relievers? And they were like, sure, here's Pierce Johnson, here's Brad Hand, take them all.
Yeah, they got all of the ones that actually haven't been pitching well.
Yeah.
It's really great. They got the wrong lefty, the wrong one.
Brent Suter. How did he not get traded?
I don't know. He's actually been really good for no reason. He's got like a 3.1 FIP or something like that, no sub 3 ERA, and he pitches in cores.
He's drawing in fans, bro. You can't trade him.
That's right. They got a double-A reliever, Alec Barger. He's a dude.
Yes, he is. 25 at double-A. Nice job. 3.29 ERA, 29% strikeout rate.
48 strikeouts in 38 innings is pretty good.
I'm sure he's going to be one of the best Rockies pitchers of all time.
Well, it'd be pretty low bar there. It's a reliever.
Good one.
Oh, yeah. The Marlins traded Garrett Cooper and Sean Reynolds to the Padres in exchange for Ryan Weathers, another guy that is a guy.
This was actually interesting.
It sort of is. Ryan Weathers, it feels like he's like a post hype guy, and a lot of fantasy things don't like Ryan Weathers, but Ryan Weathers isn't that bad. They'll add some depth there to sort of like the swingman role in Miami. He pitches out of the bullpen some. He can give you some spot starts. Ryan Weathers is a guy. Giving up Garrett Cooper, not that bad, especially considering that the trade that they made later that we will talk about to bolster the first base position. And then I don't know anything about Sean Reynolds.
I could tell you about Sean Reynolds.
Tell me about Sean Reynolds.
Well, Sean Reynolds actually used to be a position player, and then he transitioned to being a pitcher in 2021 and has since been a lot better. I think he did get called up by the Marlins, and then he just never pitched, but he's been very solid this year. He's still only 25, despite making that transition pretty late in his career at 23, but 3.50 ERA this year at AAA, comes with a 23% strikeout rate. But I think this is a pretty interesting guy, definitely an interesting story. Garrett Cooper can platoon over there for the Padres as well. He's been a great hitter in the past, but he has dealt with a lot of injuries and pretty positionless, not a great defender, sort of just a bat guy. But yeah, you talked about Ryan Weather sort of. I mean, the Marlins don't really need pitching, but they did deal a bit from their pitching depth. And this is a guy still only 23, which is crazy. He made his debut at 21. And while he hasn't been great in the majors and his prospect star has sort of fallen, definitely still some projectability there, especially with the Marlins, who are very good at pitching development.
Yeah, I like this a lot more for the Marlins. Garrett Cooper is he's a rental, and he's sort of a platoon guy anyway, getting a guy that they think they could probably get the most out of. And I would trust the Marlins with pitching development. They sort of have a pretty good track record there. Obviously, we know what Ryan Weathers has done. He's obviously he was a top 10 pick, wasn't he? Yeah, he was a top 10 pick. He's only 23. This is a decent chance to have this be a win-win trade for both. This next trade was a weird one. The Pirates traded Austin Hedges to the Rangers
for the deadline, man.
Yeah, for international bonus pool money. Austin Hedges gets to go play for the Rangers and be an awful hitter somewhere else.
I was uncertain about the Rangers trade deadline, but when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's it. Winners for sure.
It was all over.
Foolish Bailey just posted like sneak peek at like Austin Hedges on the Rangers and just posted a picture of Jeff Mathis. Yeah, great defender, terrible hitter,
awful hitter.
Yeah, so they don't really need to rely on him, but you do have to sort of factor in that they lost Jonah Heim to the IL for what could be the rest of the season, depending on whether or not he needs surgery or if he can play through the pain right now. They are relying on Mitch Garver, but I think Austin Hedges pretty solid backup option just because he's great with pitchers.
Austin Hedges is a much better defensive catcher than Mitch Garver also. It's not even remotely close. If there is any team right now with a lineup that can support a catcher that can't hit, is probably the Rangers. Sure. Their lineup is really good. Look at what the Astros do with Maldonado. Maldonado is a much better hitter than Austin Hedges, but still, he's not nearly on the same level as hitters in that lineup.
I'm a better hitter than Austin Hedges.
Well, yeah, it's not a real high bar, Jake. But Austin Hedges, the GOAT. This next one hurt my feelings. The Diamondbacks traded Andrew Chafin to the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for relief pitcher Peter Strzelecki. So this is a weird reliever swap because Strzelecki has been in and out of that bullpen.
It was weird in the fact that the Diamondbacks like added to their bullpen with Sewald, and then we're just like, oh, well, then we'll give up our second best one to Chafin. But they are a team that have a ton of lefties. They do have Kyle Nelson. They do have All-Star Joe Mantiply. We've got others in the minor leagues as well. So they felt that was like a position of depth that they could deal from and still be pretty well off. Kyle Nelson has been really good this year, and like I mentioned, Joe Mantiply is a former All-Star. So that sort of says all you need to know. Chafin's been great this year, but he does have the ability to be a free agent next year. He does have a club option. It's pretty expensive. I don't think the Brewers will pick it up $7.5 million, but in return, they do get Strzelecki, who's not a free agent until after 2028. So that is like Strzelecki clearly worse than Chafin, but he does provide those years of control. And it's sort of like, how do you weigh that? And I think the Diamondbacks were like, well, we added to our bullpen. We can trade from this left-handed pitching depth and still supplement the bullpen with another guy that we'll be able to keep around for a long time. And maybe they see something more in Strzelecki, who's been a 4.5 ERA guy and doesn't seem too interesting, but maybe they see something in him that they can bring out.
He was much better last year, was Strzelecki, but Andrew Chafin is a cool guy in case you are unfamiliar. He's like a big country boy. They asked him his thoughts about being traded to Milwaukee, and he said the only thing he said was, I heard they like their beer up there, so I guess I'll fit in.
Nice.
Yeah, so Andrew Chafin, cool guy. I'm really upset. I wanted the Cubs to trade for him again because I really like him. Yeah, the White Sox traded another guy. This was one that I didn't really expect them to trade. They traded Jake Berger, who's their home run leader, I think. Was he their home run leader besides like
I don't know. I think Luis Robert definitely more.
Yeah, he's still one of the better hitters on their team. Play the deep fried clip of that guy screaming about Jake Berger being the best hitter on their team. They traded Jake Berger. Our best hitter is Jake Berger. The White Sox received Jake Eder, who is the number 4 prospect in the Miami system.
Big Jake trade.
Yeah, it becomes Jake for Jake swap. It becomes the number 4 prospect in the White Sox system. White Sox traded literally everybody except for Luis Robert was supposed to be the thing. Didn't quite be the case, but they still traded this guy to the Marlins because they really needed some offensive help.
Interesting trade. I didn't really expect that. Yeah. I never considered Berger to be on the table. I mean, he is 27. Yeah, he is 27, but he's not a free agent until after 2028. So that's a long time that the Marlins will be able to have him. And he does have 25 home runs this year, 527 slug, 117 WRC plus. Terrible plate discipline, 7% walk, 31% strikeout rate. But so while that does keep his average and OBP down, clearly he is a big power guy, and that's what he's bringing to a Marlins lineup that desperately needed power, and they were able to deal from their pitching, minor league pitching depth. And while Eder is an interesting guy, 6'4" lefty. He is 24. He is at AA. He has dealt with injuries over the past couple of years. He does have an ERA slightly below 4 and strikes out a lot of guys, but this is a guy that will need to stay healthy if he wants to be any good. And I think it's a pretty solid trade for both sides. It definitely depends on if Eder is able to live up to his potential, and there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. So you never know there, but I don't know. I think the Marlins really made out well here.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just surprised that the White Sox would be willing to trade a guy that has a lot of control, considering that they're one of the biggest cheapskate teams in baseball. So getting rid of a guy that they have a lot of control of is sort of a surprise, but still, I think this is a good trade for both sides. The White Sox made another trade here by trading reliever Keenan Middleton to the Yankees, who just God knows what their plan was.
The Yankees.
They traded him to the Yankees. The White Sox received starting pitcher Juan Corella. Do you know what the Yankees' plan was? Because I don't think I do, and I don't think they do either.
I think their plan was to just chill out and have a good time. I mean, Keenan Middleton's pretty solid. Dealt with injuries in the past. He's been pretty great this year. Strikeout rate north of 30%. ERA below 4. I mean, hard to argue with that. Definitely adds depth to a bullpen that I think has been really good this year, but I don't know. I guess they felt they could add another arm. And while the pitching staff, I feel like, is pretty solid, they clearly needed to make an addition to the offense. I wish Isaiah was here because he could probably speak better on this than we have. I don't think I've watched any Yankees games this year. They did get Judge back, so maybe they were like, oh, our offense is solved. The one guy we've been waiting for, he's back. We don't have to worry about anything anymore. And so they just went for Keenan Middleton and Spencer Howard. And well, the Keenan Middleton trade in itself is fine. Corella is a 21-year-old starter at high A ball with a 3.67 ERA and a 31% strikeout rate. It's pretty interesting, to be honest. And for a half a year of Keenan Middleton, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think their plan was?
I don't know. They okay. So since Hal Steinbrenner in the offseason said we're not done yet after they signed Carlos Rodon, they have signed or acquired the following players. They got Willie Calhoun. They got Billy McKinney. Cole Calhoun.
Nice.
Nick Ramirez. Franchy Cordero. Greg Allen. Spencer Howard. And Keenan Middleton. Willie Calhoun's been released.
Quad A guys.
It's been Billy McKinney and Nick Ramirez are on the active roster. Cole Calhoun, I think, isn't even in their minor league system anymore. Greg Allen, who cares? Franchy Cordero's in AAA. Spencer Howard is not very good, and Keenan Middleton's an okay reliever that you got as a rental. So I just don't. Honestly, I'm not a Yankees fan, but I feel like if I was, I'd be pretty irritated with their trade deadline because they just.
I mean, they're in last place, bro. They should have been selling.
They're in last place. but the division's super tight, and they still didn't buy anything of any consequence. And their bullpen,
they're the Yankees. They should be like laying the hammer down.
Their bullpen and starting pitching depth wasn't the problem.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Is capital.
That's why I said by itself the trade is fine. By itself the trade is fine, but to just be like, no, the offense is fine. We are definitely chilling. Is just like bonkers.
Their lineup sucks.
It's basically like the opposite version of the Reds, where the Reds had they both had such clear needs, and they were just like, no, we're not going to do that. Actually,
yeah. I hope Aaron Judge hits a home run and they win every game 1-0. It's probably the plan. They were very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. If I were the Yankees, I would be pretty irritated. Yeah. I don't know. This trade was a trade. It's not that bad in a vacuum, but like. Yeah, the Yankees lose. In a vacuum, this trade is good. It's fine. Not in a vacuum, and this being the only trade that they made of any consequence. Oh my God, this is really bad. The Yankees are idiots. And honestly, I think at this point you can make the really clear case, even if you're not a Yankees fan, that's like a Chud getting really mad all the time, that you really kind of need to fire Brian Cashman, because like the blatant lack of any building in a lineup since they traded for Giancarlo Stanton is miserable. Like they need to do something. I don't know. They suck. Back to the other New York team. The Mets traded Tommy Pham to the Diamondbacks in exchange for shortstop Jeremy Rodriguez.
I love Tommy Pham, even though he slapped one of my team's players. He's a great player. He had a great story earlier in his career. I know you probably already have that idea of you hate him because he was a Cardinal. But he's been Tommy Pham. Yeah, he's been really good for a long time. He speaks his mind. He did shit all over some dude that everyone hates on Twitter, which was really cool. Cool. Yeah, so he's been very solid this year. 127 WRC plus, which is his best since 2018. Comes with 10 homers and 11 steals. And that's while underperforming his StatCast metrics pretty dramatically, because he's been incredible in the StatCast lollipops this year. 13% barrel rate, 47% hard hit rate, 113 mile per hour max exit velocity, 93 mile per hour average exit velocity, 390 expected WOBA. I mean, these are just some incredible numbers. And to add depth to an outfield that, didn't really need depth. They didn't have a lot of righties. Their outfield right now was Jake McCarthy, lefty, Alek Thomas, lefty, Corbin Carroll, lefty, and to add Tommy Pham, who can not only spell the former two guys, but can also just be in the middle of that lineup and has the ability to have an even bigger second half because he's underperforming those metrics so well. Great trade for the Diamondbacks, in my opinion, even if he's going to be a free agent this year. Jeremy Rodriguez is 17. He's fast, and he is in the Dominican Summer League. I can't take anything from that, but the fact that he is 17 suggests that, got some projectability. But I mean, that's one where you're going to have to wait and see 5 years from now.
Yeah. Tommy Pham, really good. Probably still one of the better rental bats left. Diamondbacks adding a lot here because their one righty outfielder that was supposed to be really good, Kyle Lewis, has not been very good. He actually got optioned back to AAA. So
they just haven't played him. He's been in the minors all year.
Yeah, but when he's come up, he hasn't been good. He's got a 40 WRC plus. Really bad.
He has 6 at bats, doesn't he?
No, he has he's played in 11 games and he sucked in all of them. He struck out 32% of the time.
I don't know.
He struck out 32% of the time though. He struck out 1 million times while he was up. I don't know. He stinks. The Pirates made a trade. They were cool guys around the deadline and didn't trade David Bednar. They traded Rich Hill, however, and Ji-Man Choi, 2 fan favorite players, to the San Diego Padres in exchange for Alfonso Rivas, Cubs legend, starting pitching prospect Jackson Wolf, number 16, San Diego system, stays exactly the same for Pittsburgh, and Estuar Suero, another 80 grade baseball name guy.
Honestly, the Padres may not be good, but they are a vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're sick. All vibes team. I can get
They are. Yeah. I mean, just the stars that they got. Manny Machado, maybe not a vibe guy. He's really good, but Juan Soto, Tatis vibes. Ha-Seong Kim,
depends on
underrated. Underrated vibe. Bogarts, Cronenworth, sort of the same vibe there where they're just quietly solid. Ji-Man Choi, the boy. Trent Grisham, sick ass mustache. I mean, Gary Sanchez, Matt Carpenter, sick mustache. They just got some guys there, and then to add Dick Mountain to a rotation that's, I mean, not really relying on him, but they got some vibe guys there, and they're a fun team to watch. Even if they do suck, I'm memeing here, but I'm honestly like being like
they got guys that like you would want to watch play.
Yeah, I want to go watch some Padres games. They're fun, even if they're not going to be good. I think they could have a big second half, and they could make the run. Maybe these guys aren't the guys that do it. Rich Hill is Rich Hill. He will be Rich Hill forever. He's 43 years old. G-Man Choi. Yep, G-Man Choi, short side or strong side platoon guy. That big power, great plate discipline. Was injured like all year. And has come back and hit a couple home runs, and we'll see what he does in San Diego. But I think that's a fun guy to land in San Diego, and we'll see how that goes. And then the Pirates got some guys, didn't they?
Yeah, they got Jackson Wolf. First off, we'll just run down the line. They got Alfonso Rivas. Alfonso Rivas,
you know about him?
He's not very good. He's 20. He's 26. He's only had a couple games up with the Padres. He's a first baseman that's not a very good defensive first baseman, and he doesn't really have any pop at all. Like
I don't know. Did you see his stats in AAA this year? 154 WRC plus, batting 332, 18% walk rate, 19% strikeout rate, 400 BABIP, but he does have 9 homers and 8 steals.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of something there. Maybe he's a quad A guy, but those are pretty solid numbers.
Yeah, he's Jake. He's leading off for the Pirates. And he's not very good.
Today?
Yes. He's leading. He's number 6. They gave him the number 6 jersey. Yeah, they also.
What does that mean? Gave him number 6 jersey.
I don't know. I saw this stupid tweet that was like Alfonso Rivas is going to wear number 6. Like, who cares?
I don't care.
Yeah. Also, if you're a Pirates fan, you should be very irritated because they optioned Nick Gonzalez, one of your higher tier prospects, to make.
He's not been great.
Yeah, it hasn't been great, but you're replacing with Alfonso Rivas, and he sucks.
They're not trying to win. Maybe they're saving his prospect, his control.
Dumb. Jackson Wolf is a pitcher.
He is a pitcher. He is 24, left-hander. He's 6'7".
Jackson Wolf sounds like the name of a bad guy in a baseball movie.
He made his major league debut this year. He tossed 5 innings in a spot start. But I don't know, pretty solid guy. I think this guy's probably got the ability to be a pretty solid starter. He's probably lower level guy. But yeah, I mean, not bad. Esparzuero, like you said, cool name. He's 17. Can't really say anything about him, but he is young. He's got that going for him.
Young dude. All right. We can talk about another team. Cleveland Guardians traded Josh Bell. We talked about this a little bit earlier. They traded Josh Bell to the Marlins in exchange for Gene Segura, who is now no longer on their team. They're going to release him.
Yeah, that was so fast. I think they waited like 30 minutes to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, you're here. Now go away. But the big get out of this is shortstop prospect Khalil Watson. He was the number 12 prospect for Miami. He becomes the number 15 prospect for Cleveland, and this is a really big get. I like this trade a lot.
Really? I don't know. The big is an operative word there. He was the 16th overall pick in 2021, and Fangraph said he was one of the most electrifying middle infield athletes on the planet, and he has a chance to be in the top 5 on the top 100 list if he performs in pro ball. You know what he's done in pro ball?
Never walked and struck out a million times.
Not perform. That's right. He is fast. He's got power. He's got all the tools. But yeah, like you said, he loves striking out. That's his favorite pastime is striking out. And it's not really played. He's also not like a defender either. He's a guy that I think sticks it more at second base, and definitely tons of potential. And if you consider that, like, all right, the one thing that he sucks at is striking out, put him in Cleveland, right? That's the one place you want him to go.
Same thing with plate discipline. He doesn't walk very much.
Yeah.
Put him in an organization where they fix that. I think this could be pretty good. He actually hit a home run tonight. It was his debut. So he hit a home run. Yep. Very cool.
So did Josh Bell. Josh Bell hit a home run in his first game with the Marlins. And that's like exactly what they needed, was just a guy that can hit.
They needed thump really bad.
I don't know if you've seen this study before. I've heard about it a couple times, but they did a study on like if change of scenery is actually a thing that is real, right? Because people always talk about, like this guy needs a change of scenery and that'll figure things out. They found that there is high correlation between players that go from one league to the other. So either American League to National League or National League to American League. And then they sucked in their first time and then they go to the other and there is lots of correlation that they do improve. They have to switch leagues. It has to be the same year. And they do have to have sucked in the first half. And you know who fits all of those categories? Josh Bell. Yeah, he's been a 95 WRC plus for the Guardians, which not terrible, but when you're Josh Bell and you're a terrible defender,
especially not when you're a first baseman.
For first baseman,
95 WRC plus defender. Is miserable.
Yeah. So I actually have big faith in him. Clearly, I have him on my fantasy team, but I think he could have a monster second half. This is a guy that has gone off in short stints in the past, and I look forward to Josh Bell ringing that bell for the second half for the Marlins.
That's a pretty interesting point that you've brought up there about changing leagues, because I feel like a lot of the time, I know it's sort of like an off tangent thing, but I feel like a lot of guys that end up changing teams in the off season, like through free agency, particularly try to stay within the same division because they're familiar. So I feel like a lot of the times maybe breaking that familiarity can get you out of that slump. And Josh Bell sort of gets it done. Hopefully he can be good. The Marlins are a really fun team. You don't want to talk about the Padres being a vibes team. I feel like the Marlins are a pretty fun vibes team also.
Jake Burger,
the best hitter on your team is Jake Burger and Luis Arias, and now Josh Bell. So now you can have fun.
Get there. Jazz back in there.
They're Jazz rolling. And Jorge Soler. He is sort of breaking out of his slump too. So they can actually have a really fun offense to watch to go along with. Hopefully the rest of their pitching can figure it out. Braxton Garrett cannot suck anymore. And then Sandy Alcantara can be good again. That'd be really nice. The Royals, finally, they pulled the trigger on Scott Barlow. It looked like they weren't going to do it. They traded Scott Barlow to the Padres in exchange for starting pitching prospect Henry Williams. He's number 10 for the Padres. He becomes the number 9 prospect for the Royals.
Yeah, sorry, Josh Hader. You had a good run as the closer, but
you're fired. You're fired, bozo. Get out of here.
Yeah, Scott Barlow's been great the last 2 years. Sub 3 ERA in both of those years. If you look at combined 148 innings pitched, 2.30 ERA over the past 2 years. 5 ERA this year, 5.13, but it does come with a sub 4 xFIP. So he's definitely been unlucky this year. And while the velocity has dropped in each of the past 2 years as well, and is now below 93 miles per hour, he's still a very solid pitcher. He's walking more guys than ever as well. But, I think he could be pretty solid. He also has another year of control too. So maybe he turns that luck back around next year and is a guy that can help out the team next year. And Henry Williams, 21-year-old A-ball, 6'5". I think he's got good stuff, and that's about it because he's not pitched well. He was drafted in the 3rd round in 2022, so I don't know why he's ranked so highly. But I mean, honestly, like RIP,
recent draft pick. He was the 3rd round. He was the 3rd rounder last year, I believe.
RIP for him though. I don't trust the Royals pitching development
specifically. He's actually now within 4-year span of draft picks, the Royals will now have 3 pitching prospects that are high school pitchers from Connecticut, which is very weird. I think Frank Mazzucato, Hero Wyatt, and now Henry Williams.
Who was looking that up? What guy just has no time? You?
Jay Kuhn on Twitter at HaterProof82. Big Kansas City sports guy, apparently.
Great.
Yeah, they got a bunch of guys. Yeah, he's number 9 in their system.
I think this is a lose.
Yeah, the Royals are garbage, and I wouldn't bank on them developing any of these guys. Yeah. They have – I'm going to look it up. Hold on. I guarantee it's under 25 wins.
I don't know. They had like the biggest win streak recently.
Okay, sorry. They're 35-75. They have a bottom 3 farm system even after the trade deadline. So, yeah, I think the Royals suck, and I wouldn't trust anything they do. On the other hand, the Tigers made a pretty good trade. Traded Michael Lorenzen to the Phillies in exchange for second base prospect Hao-Yu Lee. He's the number 5 prospect for Philly. Becomes number 6 for Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, David Dombrowski really does not give a shit about prospects at all. He'll just trade them all. He does not care. And I mean, Hao-Yu Lee, 20-year-old high A ball, seems pretty cool. Guy. I mean, yeah, I don't know the origin of that name, but I do like foreign guys. Generally,
he's from Taiwan.
Sick. He's been solid. Speed. He's got 5 home runs. Batting 116 at high A, or 116 WRC plus. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, you do sort of got to give up if you're going to get an all-star, you know? I mean, Michael Lorenzen,
Right.
while he did get a lot of shit for being an all-star, that wasn't because he was bad. It was just because like the Tigers didn't really have any choices. So while he doesn't really an all-star compared to the other guys, it's not his fault that he was the best guy on his team, you know. And 3.5 ERA, not a big strikeout guy. I mean, can hit if he does need to, but yeah, I think Michael Lorenzen's pretty cool. Definitely gives some depth to a Phillies rotation that I think has been lacking that this year. They did give up Bailey Falter, so they sort of needed a guy, but the rotation's pretty interesting. I mean, you do have Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, a couple aces on the top. Christopher Sanchez has been great this year. Michael Lorenzen, now you add an all-star there, and Taijuan Walker and Ranger Suarez have had their moments. So that's a rotation that could survive if they do make the playoffs, to be honest.
Yeah, Hao-Yu Lee, weirdly enough, he's Taiwanese, but he didn't get to play for the Taiwanese team in the WBC, which kind of sucks.
We hate you.
I know. That one's kind of rough, but yeah, maybe he didn't want to. He's a second base prospect. He seems pretty good. He's been in high A this year. He's got a 115 WRC plus. Pretty good.
That's a pretty good prospect to get, to be honest, for 2 months of Lorenzen. That's pretty good.
Walks pretty decent. 10% to 18% strikeout percentage. He's pretty solid. 116 WRC plus. I don't really know much else about him. That's still a pretty good get there. Cardinals made another trade. They traded like literally everybody that were not the big guys. They traded Paul DeJong to the Blue Jays in exchange for relief pitcher Matt Swanson. Yeah, what do you think about this trade? With
I don't know.
Paulie D.
I gotta say, I think dub for the Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. Bo Bichette just hit the IL, so they needed a guy to play shortstop. Paul DeJong can do that. He's a great defender, actually. The bat has really not been there since he was good, really good for his first 3 years. Not been there with the bat, but he's rediscovered some power this year. Sort of a strikeout guy, but they do have the ability to maintain him on their team over the next 2 years because he does have club options those years. So if they don't want him, no pressure. If you do want him, those are probably not too expensive. And Swanson is a 24-year-old reliever at high A who's been really good. 1.23 ERA at high A with 31% strikeout rate. That's really good, but he is 24 and he is at high A and he is a reliever. So I think that's the type of guy you want to give up for DeJong, who gives you, is that how you pronounce his name? I don't care. I think it's a dub for the Blue Jays, to be honest. Isn't that the second trade that they made together?
Yes.
Third.
Yeah, it is a third. You're going to the Cardinals store.
Yeah, what was the first one? That was like the first thing we talked about. The Jordan Hicks trade, and then they did the Genesis Cabrera trade, and then they were just like, hey, how about we round it out? Give us Paul DeJong.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we got 2 left.
Paul DeJong, in case you did not know, was the Cardinals' all-time home run leader at shortstop. Now he is gone.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing because how many home runs do you think he has?
I don't know, like 80?
It's like 116.
Really?
Yeah. He had that 1 year where he went completely off, remember?
115. Yeah, he had 30 in 2019. That's 2019. He had 25 as a rookie. That's 55 right there. That's crazy. He was able to go over 100. That's wild.
Yep. Yeah, Cardinals made another trade, this time with another bird team. They traded Jack Flaherty, who actually just struck out yesterday, Paul DeJong, to the Orioles. Cardinals received in this trade infielder prospect Cesar Prieto. He's a number 16 prospect, becomes number 9 for St. Louis. Starting pitcher prospect Drew Rom, who is I don't know, is that his actual name or is that a misspell?
Yeah.
Drew Rom.
It's not.
Number 18 prospect and becomes the number 26 prospect for St. Louis. And then Zach Showalter, who's unranked, he becomes the number 23 prospect for the Cardinals.
A huge dub for the Orioles here.
Oh, yeah. Did you see anything about his start yesterday where his velocity was way up?
94. Yep.
He hit 97 yesterday.
And, I mean, what has Jack Flaherty been this year? 4.4 ERA. You know what bowl he falls into? The guy who sucked in the first half switched leagues.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. So big second half incoming here for Flaherty. And this is a team that, like, great offense, incredible bullpen. just lacking on the starting pitching front, and they just went out and they just got their starting pitcher that they needed. I mean, great addition, perfect fit, great in his debut. I think this is going to be a great trade for the Orioles, despite having to give up a decent prospects. Prieto is a AAA guy, but he is a middle infielder. He is an infielder, and that's what the Orioles have way too many of. He's not played a lot this year because there are other guys in front of him. Actually, he has played a lot. He was at AA and AAA this year, but he's more of a contact first guy. He does not strike out. Sub 7% at AA, sub 9% at AAA. That's cool. And he does throw in, I guess, a little bit of power. He seems like Luis Arias-esque. I mean, that used to be like a comparison you can make, but now Luis Arias is batting like 400, and now it's like, oh, bro, don't give him such like high praise. He's a Luis Arias type guy. Drew Rom fallen off this year. I think he was a guy that was much higher ranked entering this season. But he's got a 5.34 ERA this year and has been struggling with walks as well. So maybe that's a guy that becomes a reliever. And then Showalter clearly made a big jump going from unranked to ranked above Drew Rom, which is interesting. He's only 19. He was at A-ball, and that'll be one that's interesting to watch because he's very young and you can't really project pitchers that far out.
Definitely. And then the last trade to talk about is
good last one, to be honest, like a really good one to end on.
Definitely a good last one. The Mets continue their tear down, and they traded Justin Verlander and cash considerations to the Houston Astros for outfielder Drew Gilbert. He's the number 67 prospect in all of baseball. Number 1 for Houston, becomes the number 4 for the Mets. And then also another outfielder, Ryan Clifford. He was number 4 for Houston, and he becomes number 6 for the New York Mets. Verlander goes back to Houston, where he won his first championship and Cy Young most recently. Yeah, I mean, this was a big one, and really life has to come at you fast, because look where the Mets were at 5 days ago. I mean, they had, and this is from Anthony to come up, so sweet. 5 days ago, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander were both Mets. Yesterday, they lost to the Royals. They got swept by the Royals, and we're having position players pitch against the Kansas City Royals. So the Mets, I don't know, it didn't take long this season for them to Mets, or for them to Met at a high caliber. But Verlander goes back to Houston, who thinks they have a chance to win it all. And honestly, Carabas tweeted this a couple days ago, also when the trade actually happened. But we all give the Astros like a bunch of guff about this is like they cheated, blah, blah, blah. They're basically what you want your team to do every single time. If they think they have a chance to win a championship, they will put all the chips in and they will try to win. And they're doing that now by acquiring Verlander, who might not be quite at the peak of his powers as of this year, but he's still been pretty good. And they think they can win again. They get back an old friend with Justin Verlander.
Yeah, that was sort of their theme, was just getting back old friends. They also got Kendall Graveman earlier. But I don't know. This trade is clearly a solid trade for them to get Justin Verlander. He's been great in Houston, and well, he's been not at his usual self this year in New York. I think a lot of that can be due to being 40 and pitching in a new place. But the one caveat is that, like, they had a chance to sign him in the offseason. I heard that they offered $2.80 and the Mets offered $2.86. And they were just like, no, we won't give you $3 million more a year to pitch for us. Instead, we'd rather only have you for like a half a year less and also give up 2 of our top 4 prospects, because that would be what we'd rather do than pay $3 million extra. So that's sort of goofy, but you can't, like, that's sunk cost fallacy there. They made up for it by getting him back. And I don't know, Justin Verlander, he is Justin Verlander. You don't really know what you're going to get, but you also do know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get because he's old AF. But also you know what you're going to get because he's been pitching for 18 years and he's been in Houston for the last 4. So definitely helps out that rotation. Not like a spot on the team that really needed a boost, but that does like really give their playoff chances a big boost. And it'll be interesting to watch like Verlander and Scherzer face off in that division. I think that's really cool to have them go from, like, they used to be teammates and then they're teammates again, and now they're facing each other in the same division on the top 2 teams in that division. They gave up one of the best prospects traded at the deadline, their number one prospect, Drew Gilbert. 22 years old, high A and double A this year. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed, first round pick in 2022. He seems like he could be pretty solid. We will see. Like I said, power, speed are basically what he's good for. And that'll be fun to watch. He's not been great at AAA this year, but he was pretty solid at AA. So that'll be something to watch there. He's not been great at AA, but he was great at high A. So we'll see how that one works out. And then Ryan Clifford, 20-year-old left-handed hitter, high A. He's 19. A lot of power. That's clear. 16 home runs at high A this year. And I think the Mets made out well here. But it does sort of just like, and it doesn't look great for them to like have made this huge investment and trade like so soon after. And now that whole, did you see like Scherzer's quotes?
Yeah, where he basically said that they're not intending on competing again until 2025. And that's also sort of evidence.
Wild.
This is a big issue right now too, because they're basically bailing on this plan to compete now, which sucks because they also will have to pay money if they want to re-sign Pete Alonso. And
that's what I was thinking.
The important part that we are not we're not considering, we haven't talked about yet. The Mets are sending a lot of money towards the contract for both of these guys. They're paying a lot of Scherzer's deal. The Mets, Justin Verlander has an option next year, correct? So it's a $35 million option. The Mets are sending $54 million. So they're sending $54 million if that option becomes vested. If they hit the threshold, they take that option. The Astros will only pay Verlander like $29 million. It won't even be a full $29 million. So the Mets are bailing on the rebuild, and they're paying a lot of money for these prospects. So like, God dang, I just don't understand. It's equivalent of $54 million for two prospects is what you're getting.
Fire.
Nice. Good plan, Steve. Put the Frank the Tank picture with him chewing his shirt in half on the screen.
I have it.
Yeah, that's the Mets.
Wrong one. Not that one again. There it is.
Yeah, that's poor Frank. Poor Frank. Mets
wow.
Oh God.
All right. Well, that's all of the trades from the trade deadline. We covered all, and it only took us 2 hours. So now we can do like a quick winners and losers. I pulled the MLB.com article where they talked about the 7 winners from the deadline. I wouldn't say I agree with them, but we can run through them really quick. The Astros, one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really agree with that one. Sure, they got Verlander and Graveman. They did give up like their few top prospects that they do have, but I don't know. They're going for it. So I wouldn't call them a clear winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It depends on if Verlander sucks. Like if Verlander succeeds on the spins one half and does kind of mid or bad, and then changes to the separate league, like you said with Josh Bell and who was the other one?
Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty. Maybe Justin Verlander can do the same thing. I could see it. Kendall Graveman's fine. They did give up a lot of prospects: Drew Gilbert, Ryan Clifford, and Corey Lee. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That one's up in the air. What about the Rays?
The Rays, this one's also like 50-50 for me. I don't really agree with this article too much.
No.
I like that they got Manny Rodriguez. They won that trade. I think the Savale trade is sort of a win-win there, but it wasn't like blown out of the water because they did give up a lot of guys. They gave up Patino for free, and Manzardo, top prospect, given up at the deadline, and they didn't really get anybody impact there.
Yeah. Next team is the Cubs. Winner or no?
No, I don't think so either. I think Candelario is a great get, but the Kuas trade is sort of weird. And then to give up Manny Rodriguez and that L of a trade, I think it sort of like evens all out to like a pretty mid deadline.
Yeah, I don't know. If genuinely all they got was Candelario and they made that one trade, then I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Candelario is a rental. The Samson trade is super weird. They gave up Manny Rodriguez. That really sucks. They did that for basically no reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Samson was due a ton of money, but Padres, winner or no?
I say yeah. I mean, they didn't really make any like big additions, but I do like the guys that they got, and I like just that they're going for it. I mean that's sort of the vibe you get here is that it's a win because they're going for it. Like it's a win for the fans. I would say they didn't really get anybody too crazy, but like I said, they got some vibe guys, and they didn't really give up anybody too crazy. Jackson Wolf was sort of the highest ranked prospect. And actually, Henry Williams was, and I wasn't super high on him. And Ryan Weathers is sort of doesn't really fit in for them right now. So I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I would say they're winners. They added more than they gave up. I don't think they really lost anybody of any consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Marlins.
Big time winners. They went all in. This is exactly what you expected like the Reds to do, and this is what the Marlins did. They said, hey, we need some big boppers. They got Josh Bell, they got Jake Burger. They said, hey, we could use a right-handed reliever. They went and got David Robertson and Jorge Lopez, and then they also sort of shored up their future prospects by getting Ryan Weathers. They gave up some pretty decent prospects. I think Marco Vargas and Ronald Hernandez could come back to bite them from the David Hernandez trade, and Khalil Watson, like we said, going to a pretty good organization to like work on his strikeout rate. But Garrett Cooper, Gene Segura, Jake Eater, I think were guys that were pretty expendable.
Mets. They have the Mets as a winner.
All right. Well, I don't know. Mets are losers if you consider like the franchise. If you consider where they are at this year, they did a good job. I think they got some great prospects that will like be really good. Luis Angel Acuna, really good. I think Vargas is going to be a top 50 prospect in a year or two. And then the rest of their guys, Drew Gilbert, Ryan Clifford, Jeremiah Jackson, that trade's ridiculous. That trade makes them winners all by itself. They did give up big guys. They gave up Max Scherzer. They gave up Justin Verlander. They gave up David Robertson, Tommy Pham. That's 4 all-stars right there. A couple Cy Young Award winners, and then Dominic Leone in there. But they did get a very good prospect return. I think if you consider the Mets as a whole, it's a big L. If you consider them this season only, I think it's a dub.
That's fair. The prospects they got back are great. Just considering the expectations that the Mets had at the start of the season, we're like, oh yeah, we're going to compete, try to win a World Series. And now they're tearing it down at the deadline and just trying to acquire prospects. Pretty bad. I don't know. I would go 50-50 on that just for that reason. Angels as big winners, yes or no?
I say, yeah. If they were going to go in as competitive, this is what you would expect them to do at the deadline. Mm-hmm. Go get Giolito, get a big starter, shore up the bullpen with Lopez and Leone, and then get some solid guys in the lineup that you can trust when somebody else inevitably gets injured. Cron and Grichuk you can trust. And they gave up some big prospects, but they're not really a team with a lot of prospects anyway. And I think they know that if they lose Shohei this offseason, they're going to suck for like the next 7 years or so. So it doesn't really matter what kind of prospects they have. But yeah, I think if your goal was to get better at the deadline and compete and have a run at the postseason, this is what you do.
Yeah, I think their goal was more or less, let's please try to put together a team that will make Ohtani kind of want to stay. Yeah. And I think they did that. I think Giolito's a good get. Reynaldo Lopez, same thing. Dominic Leone sucks, but CJ Cron and Randall Grichuk, like they added, and I think that's what they needed to do.
They're guys.
Yeah, they're dudes. Losers, Giants, yes or no, Jake?
I made these up, so these are all I agree. Yes, big losers. Giants didn't really have clear needs, but they are in a position where they needed to like add, and that would be like the difference here. They have a chance at winning the division, and you just need to like add maybe one big guy, and they went and got like the most minimalistic guy you could get in AJ Pollock, and then a couple guys in the minor leagues that probably won't do anything. And that's a big L for me.
Yeah. They're 2 games out in the division right now. And they added nobody of any consequence to try to chase down the Dodgers.
Yeah. They're 2 games out in the division. And yeah,
maybe they were hoping that the Dodgers,
they're number 1 in the wild card. Like, come on, if they blow it, it's going to look really bad.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And you have in here the Yankees as big losers.
We talked about that one.
Yeah, they're huge losers. Them and the next team we're talking about, the Cincinnati Reds, you said the same thing. They both had clear as day things they needed to do, and they just didn't.
Yep.
They just didn't. And I talked about it before the podcast. Nick Krall was on the broadcast the Reds broadcast with Bally, and he was just like, yeah, I was on the phone all day, and we just didn't get anything done. Brother, whose fault is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're the one, brother. You're the one making the trades. It's like the Subway sandwich meme. It's like, so Subway sucks. Our pitching staff sucks, brother. You're the one that put it together. You could make the trade and try to make it better, and you didn't. Their only ad was Sam Mole.
Not only was it the lack of additions, but it was the lack of trades in general. Like both the Yankees and Reds had rental guys that if they wanted to like toe the line and maybe get a little better for the next couple of years, you could like trade some rental guys. I mean, the Yankees have tons of rentals. The Reds probably have some old guys they don't need and like could trade, but they were just like, no, we'd rather just like sit on our hands and get one reliever and just call it a day.
That's the thing is like, and even Nick Krall said it. He was like, look, he's like, we have a bunch. They asked him a question. It was like, were there guys that you consider untouchable? And what was the clear plan at the deadline? And he's like, we wanted to keep some of these guys and continue this. He said, obviously our team's really young and sort of ahead of schedule. He's like, we want to add guys that sort of fit with the timeline right now. Okay. Why didn't you do it? Aaron Savali.
We wanted to, but we didn't do anything.
We really wanted to, but I really wanted to take a nap instead. Aaron Savali went, and he's controllable. There are a bunch of controllable guys.
I think you should leave. Have you watched I Think You Should Leave? Yeah. I really wanted to do something, but I was so tired. I was up all night last night.
I got to figure out how to make money off of this.
Yeah, exactly. I really want to make money on this. I have to.
I really want to. Yeah, I don't know. The Reds are stupid. The Yankees are stupid. Are we going to do the month in review right now?
Let's go fast.
All right, month in review. League leaders in average. AL, Jarren Duran, big surprise. NL, Cody Bellinger, the GOAT. Hits, AL, Stephen Kwan, 35. Cody Bellinger, 40. Cody Bellinger is the best, and the Cubs should keep him around forever. Give him a 347-year contract and just trot his skeleton out there while he's still playing. What is next? I skipped past it. Runs leader. All of baseball. See Freddie Freeman, because Jake can't spell. Freddie Freeman, CJ Abrams, and Lars Nootbaar, 24. And then Shohei Ohtani has 21. Home runs, AL, Shohei Ohtani had 9 last month because he's just a freak of nature. Feels like we didn't talk about him this much this podcast, and that's a good thing because it was the trade pod. NL, Manny Machado had 11, sort of finding the power stroke again. Yeah. RBI, Justin Turner has 28. He's had a quietly insane season. He's been really, really good. Manny Machado has had 29 RBI. Stolen bases, again, Ronald Acuna. Jake, what the heck?
What did I do?
Ronald Acuna Jr. is the AL steals leader.
Oh my brain is broken.
CJ Abrams.
My brain's broken. No.
CJ Abrams had 16.
Who's the AL guy?
I don't know.
I gotta find this. This is important,
brother. You make the rundown. Why are you asking me?
This is important. I'm pulling it up. 0 stolen bases. My brain wasn't working. I just saw the second guy. It was Willie Castro. He had 11. Wow.
Willie Castro, 11. Ronald Acuna Jr. had 14, by the way. CJ Abrams beat him by 2, 16. OPS, Freddie Freeman, NL OPS leader. He had a 1.123 OPS. And then Tristan Casas led all of baseball, sort of really going off. He had a 1.199, just 1 point off of a 1.20 OPS. He was really good last month. F4 leaders for the AL tied 2 Astros. Chas McCormick, Kyle Tucker, 1.6, and the NL, Manny Machado and Cody Bellinger with 1.8.
Yes. I think, there were some definitely interesting names on here. Jarren Duran, that's one of my most disappointing drops in fantasy this year because really I thought he was going to start slowing down and he just didn't. He's really fast, hit some power. He's been incredible this year. Bellinger doing all he could to keep the Cubs playoff hopes alive. Stephen Kwan quietly doing Stephen Kwan thing. Shohei Ohtani, quiet month and still led the American League in home runs and runs, which is ridiculous. Lars Nootbaar coming back strong. Freddie Freeman, clearly one of the future Hall of Famer. Manny Machado, like you said, finally finding his power stroke. Justin Turner, super underrated this year, quietly having an incredible season. CJ Abrams sucked in the first half. 16 stolen bases in a month. What is that times 6? What is 16 times 6?
Getting the calculator out.
I already did. 96. He's on 96 stolen bases is what he was on pace for. That's crazy. He was stealing like crazy, which is ridiculous. And Tristan Cassis, I told you to hold on him in fantasy, and it's finally paying off. See, the thing with baseball fantasy, I know this is your first year, is like it feels so long to hold on to a guy that sucks. The second half feels so far away, and the second half can totally just make up for everything that happened in the first half. It's crazy, but it looks like he's finally figured it out there. And Chas McCormick, Kyle Tucker, pretty great duo in Houston there, and Manny Machado and Cody Bellinger just both had great months in July.
The Renaissance men, Manny Machado and Cody Bellinger, even though they've been good for a long time, it feels like the start of the season was so long ago, and they were just bad. We can go to the pitcher side and run through it really quick. AL wins leaders, three-way tie. We have JP France, Logan Gilbert, and Clark Schmidt, surprisingly, with 4. And then also with 4 in the NL side, it's Corbin Burns, Justin Verlander, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove, a real who's who in the NL. And then a couple guys in the AL, JP France, Clark Schmidt, Logan Gilbert, we know is good, but the other two, I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't have anything to say about these guys.
Awesome. We can go to saves. AL, another Houston Astro had 9 saves in the NL. Devin Williams and Alexis Diaz. NL Central dominated here with 10. K's leaders, Tyler Glasnow, 51 in the AL, and then Spencer Strider, who would have thought, 53 strikeouts, best in baseball for the NL.
I would like to pause there, actually, on Spencer Strider, who broke his own record for being the fastest guy to 200 strikeouts in a season. He did it as a rookie. He broke Randy Johnson's old-ass record, and that's pretty wild. I don't know the exact number that it was. It was 100-something. It was, he's at 200 right now. He's at 208, and he did it in 129 innings. I don't know what the number is. It's around there. It's in the 120s. Last year, he did it in 130-something innings. That's crazy. This is going to be the best strikeout pitcher of all time if he can not fall apart. He's still only 24, and he's just doing incredible things. Just really, really incredible season. And Tyler Glasnow, perfect timing for him, right? His movie comes out. He's having a big fun.
It looks just like Cillian Murphy.
Well, there's Codify just keeps posting that one AI altered image.
Yeah, I hate that thing.
And now I can't remember what he looks like anymore.
Yeah, shout out to Spencer Strider. He struck out Shohei Ohtani for 200. So pretty cool little fact there. All right, moving on. ERA leaders, the recently traded Aaron Savali led the AL with 1.45, and then Blake Snell, Snellzilla has definitely returned 0.56 ERA.
Bro, what he's doing is crazy. Across his last 13 starts since May 25th, it's 74 innings he's pitched. 108 strikeouts. That's by itself. 108 strikeouts. A 0.73 ERA. Across 13 starts, 0.73. 2.95 xFIP. All right. Yeah, sure. A little lucky, but that's insane. 36% strikeout rate. Just 1.12 whip. It's a sub-1 ERA that low for 13 starts, 74 innings. It just bonkers what he's doing. He's going to be a free agent too. That's going to be really interesting. Him, Jordan Hicks, and Shohei Ohtani, the big 3.
Jordan Hicks. Shut up, Jake. The whip leaders, NL, Corbin Burns, 0.72. Got bested by best pitcher of all time, Nick Pivetta, 0.71.
That's crazy. Nick Pivetta qualified for the whip title. He didn't start a single game.
Yeah, he did not. But he was bulk reliever for a bunch of them.
No, he started one game. He started his last game.
And he went 7 1/3.
7 1/3. Yeah, he
had that one. He's on my fantasy baseball team.
Yeah, he was really good. And Corbin Burns finally figuring things out after that rough first half.
Yep. Corbin Burns fueled solely by his hatred for the Milwaukee Brewers franchise to just dominate all hitters. F4 leaders for pitchers. Tyler Glasnow, 1.2 in the A. Blake Snell has to be close for this because I just don't understand how he could have all of these stats racked up and then only be
XFIP. It's based off FIP. It's F4.
Really? Okay, fair enough. So Zach Wheeler quietly stealing another one of these.
He's gonna have a big second half.
Oh yeah,
that's my dude.
Yeah, monthly awards, player of the month, AL Shohei Ohtani. Who would have thought? Cody Bellinger. Really like that guy.
Yeah, they got those right, I think.
I agree. Pitcher of the month, AL, Tyler Glasnow. NL, Corbin Burns. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't know how Blake Snell doesn't win that, but sure.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it has to be Snell. Reliever of the month, AL, Felix Bautista. Fair. NL,
Yeah.
Devin Williams.
I think Bautista's got a case for AL Cy Young. We'll see where that ends up in a couple months.
Rookie of the month. Couldn't really be anybody else but this guy, AL, Tristan Casas. And then the NL, Francisco Alvarez, the only New York Met left on the baseball team.
Bro, he is so underrated. He's got as really many home runs as his age right now through 80 games. He got 21 home runs as a 21-year-old in the major leagues through 80 games. He's catching for a major league team. This guy's got a bright future for sure.
Yeah, he does. He's really, really
and
good.
He's a good defender. 11.6 defensive WAR. He's 2.5 WAR as a 21-year-old catcher.
In 80 games.
That's crazy.
That is very crazy. We'll do standings check-in.
Yes, we can keep this one fast.
Start. All right. AL East. Orioles winning it currently 2 games ahead of the Rays. The Jays
just
are
imagine if you
off.
told somebody that after like that first month where the Rays were like the best team of all time.
Oh yeah. That's just absolutely crazy. The Orioles have been really, really kicking it into high gear.
The Rays could miss the playoffs.
They could. I predicted them to miss the playoffs, Jake.
Which would be wild because they just lost Shane McClanahan. But I mean, after that start, if they miss the playoffs, that's crazy.
That's true. In the AL, the cellar dweller in the AL East is the Yankees at 57 and 52. They are 10 whole games back. Yeah, they suck. The AL Central dominated by the 56 and 54 Minnesota Twins.
The division sucks.
Yeah, the division is so bad. I hope that the theme of the AL East, every team still winning it, like still being able to win that.
I just love the way the like order of it, that it just looks like one big division.
Yeah, it does. It's very goofy. The Twins are 56 and 54. They are currently winning the division. They are the only team above 500. 2.5 games back are the Cleveland Guardians at 53 and 56. Tigers and the White Sox both suck, and then the Royals are super bad. They are 35 and 25. Bad. They did currently though. They had the longest active win streak in
6
baseball.
games in a row. Holy schmoly!
I know the GOAT, the Royals.
Yeah,
don't count them out. Don't count them out.
They're only 21 games back.
The AL West is currently being dominated, not so much actually, by the Texas Rangers, who are 63 and 56, followed closely behind by the Houston Astros, 1.5 games back. Mariners and the Angels still have a chance. They're 6.5 and 7 games back, respectively. And the Athletics play baseball, and we don't have to talk about them.
The Astros and Rangers, I think that's going to be like the most fun division race.
Bro, Minnesota and Cleveland is going to be the most fun division race.
Shut up.
That's the one I'm watching.
I'm going to fucking kill you.
I hate Jake Crumpler. NL East is currently led by the most wins. They have the most wins in baseball. They do. Most wins in baseball belong to the Atlanta Braves, who are 69 and 37.
Nice.
They are nice. We should have done this last episode. They are 11 and 5. Or games ahead of the Phillies, who are 59 and 50. The Marlins are actually pretty close. They're in a pretty commanding position for a wild card, 58 and 52. The Mets are bad, and the Nationals really suck. The NL Central is another dumpster division, but every team is sort of competitive outside the bottom two. The Milwaukee Brewers are 59 and 51. The Reds are 59 and 52. The Cubs are surging. They're 56 and 53, 2.5 games back. The Pirates, 48 and 60. Cardinals, 48 and 62. Put it on the screen.
It's on the screen already.
I'm going to get some confetti poppers or something.
If this lasts the whole year, best meme of all time. Whoever made this, just a legend.
Yeah, that meme is sick.
It's been around for so long. I really thought it was going to not last.
Got to figure out how to make money off of this. The Cardinals have to figure out how to make money off of that because nobody should go watch that terrible baseball team. The NL West is another pretty hotly contested playoff race.
Oh, yeah.
The Dodgers are currently ahead in that division, 2 games ahead of the San Francisco Giants. Both of them have 61 wins. Dodgers 61 and 45. Giants 61 and 49. Diamondbacks pretty close. They're 57 and 53. Padres are 1 game out of 500. They are 54 and 55. And the Rockies are just happy to be here.
Let's go.
Are they the worst team in the NL?
They are.
Yep, they are. They are. Let's go. I love the Rockies so much. The Athletics are the worst team in the AL, but not really because they're trying to be bad. The Royals are the actual worst team in baseball.
Yep, sure. Well,
I was gonna say that way. No closer, go away.
Is that a world record? Is that our longest pod?
No, I don't think so. We had almost a 3-hour one time.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. It was like 2 hours and 40-something minutes.
Might be our longest pod.
Oppenheimer linked podcast.
Yeah, true. I haven't seen it yet. Have you?
No, I want to. I thought you were gonna go see it.
Oh my god, bro! We went to go see it, and my mom had bought tickets like right before, and she was like, "I got some tickets like in the last row. Like we'll go and like we'll see it. We have to do it early because Jake's got like articles and podcasts to do." We get there, we like go in the back row, and there's people in our seats. We're like, "Hey, you're in our seats," and they're like, "No, these are in our seats." And I was like, "Give me those tickets." I looked at them; they're in the front row. My mom thought she was getting the back row. She got the front row. We go in the front row. I can't see thing. Like they put words up there. I have to do like a owl head turn to read it all. And my mom's like, "Yeah, I can't do this." So we just like left and got a refund. She showed me on her phone because she was just like, "Oh no, I didn't mess up." And she shows me. It just says screen on top in big letters. And then she just bought the row right there. She's like, "I'm used to like the theater where the stage is up here." And I'm just like, no, it says screen in big letters. You're getting old, my dude.
Dang.
It's fine. I saw Barbie though.
I haven't seen that one either. I want to. On that note, on this feature length podcast, that's all we got. Go away. Go watch baseball. There's probably still a game going on. I think I don't know. Maybe the Dodgers are still playing the Athletics. Hopefully the Athletics beat them. Yeah. I'm Dave Spurd. You can follow me on Twitter at DVSBird and check in with me complaining about baseball and other sports because other sports are about to start again. They had the Hall of Fame game for football. And if you want to go read stuff about baseball and continue to win your fantasy league, check out all of Jake's stuff on websites like
Pitcherlist.com and Baseball HQ. Our longest podcast ever was 2 hours and 40 minutes. We are 15 minutes away from that.
I was right.
Yeah, you were. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. All my work is at crumplerbaseball.com. I need to update my website. But yeah, pitcherlist.com. It's where I do podcasts and articles. And it's a great website.
Yeah, for real. If you want to go check out any more articles written by colleagues of ours, you should go check out theathleteshub.org. And you can follow them on Twitter at athleteshub. And check out all their stuff because the football season's about to start. Basketball won't be too far after. The Premier League season and other domestic soccer leagues are starting up, and we will have a bunch of articles for all of those. It's fan-written articles that are really easily digestible. They're short reads. They're pretty informative. They're cool stuff. Go check them out. Follow us on all of our social medias, mainly just our Twitter accounts because they're the ones that we have on there. Don't go anywhere else. Follow our Twitter accounts and check back in with us every Wednesday at 9:30-ish for this podcast where we talk more baseball and shitpost the entire time. So peace.